What up? What up? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Welcome everybody into the room. Welcome on this wonderful Monday. You know, people probably got some inclement weather going on out there. Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. We're gonna talk some hip hop today, man. Me and hold on 1 second. Let me do this. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Just getting all the systems and everything together. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day out there. Y'all dealing with some snow out there in the lower part of the country. I heard New Orleans got some snow. That's crazy. I saw some of the pictures. It was ridiculous. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Joey today. Joey just celebrated a birthday. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about Fat Joe. I'm talking about Joey BadA celebrating his 30th birthday. And he dropped a record too. Hold on 1 second, guys. I want to make sure that we get everybody in here. All right. Y'all see and hear everything all right now? Cool. All right. Okay, cool. I'm good on this end. Just want to make sure I was dealing with some signal issues going on. All right, cool. We're connected over here. Yeah. But yes. What's up, everybody? Florida got snow. That's crazy, Poets and Rhymes. That is ridiculous, man. How Florida get snow? How's everybody out there in LA, man? I know we got a West Coast following. Want to make sure everybody's good out there, too. I'm going to get my second screen up here. But yeah, first things first, man. I wanted to, rest in peace, Jam Master Jay. Today would have been Jam Master Jay's 60th birthday, right? And so, usually when I'm going through my morning routine, I'm going through the news, going through what the recent events are, the anniversaries and things of that nature. And so I start really doing a Run DMC dig and then just really got into their music and, their catalog. They have a very, very special catalog. King of Rock, the album, also celebrating 40 years today, which was the first hip hop album ever on CD as well, which is very, very special because the CD era of hip hop is, untouchable, and it starts with that. But yeah, just going through their catalog and just kind of start going through the evolution of hip hop and hip hop songs. So I know last episode we were talking about all-time great songs, all-time great verses. I was having a conversation with Mickey Fax about the top 5, greatest hip hop verses of all time, things like that. And so I kind of kept going on that dig, kept going on that listen, and I got to Rakim. I got to Paid in Full. And I just wanted to start the show off by saying how incredible of an MC that Rakim has always been, and what a gift that he's been for the culture, from beginning to even at this point. Like Rakim, how far ahead he was of everybody around him, as far as like on wax. I don't know what it was like, on the block or whatever, but how far ahead he was lyrically and still is to a certain degree. It's really amazing. And to me, I've always said this, I view him as almost like a Wilt Chamberlain-esque type figure in this game. The greatest lyricist I've ever heard, in my personal opinion, the best rapper ever, with all things considered, even though I do feel like Nas has earned that title, through his skill set, through his debut album, being advanced in his own right. From the gate, I do think he is an evolution of Rakim, storytelling, with the subject matter and things of that nature. But if we're just talking about somebody raw skills out the gate, Rakim is something else, man. And I found myself without even trying, sitting here listening to, hold on 1 second, guys. Oh, here it is. Let me do something real quick. Sorry about that. I found myself without even trying listening to Rakim's first 3 albums. You know what I'm saying? I was sitting there listening to the first 3 albums without even trying. And then not only was he evolved, just within himself, but each album he continued to improve on the model that was already more advanced than everyone else around him. He made hit records. He made just straight up quotables. And you think about how many bars were actually constructed off of the backs of Rakim and the stuff that he put together. It's amazing. It's like he is the architect. He is hip hop's architect lyrically, if we're talking about bars and straight bar work. Peace to everybody in the chat. Hold on, let me get this. I want to get my second screen up too, so we can really get the super chats and everything like that rolling. You guys hear and see me all right? Because the chat's moving kind of slow, looks like. Let's see. Okay, we got everybody in here. But yeah, I just wanted to start off the show talking about how incredible Rakim is as an MC. And yes, Cool G Rap, all those guys, Cool G Rap, Kane, KRS, when they came in with Rakim, they changed everything. They changed the color of lyricism, if you will. And you think about that period of 87 up to 90, right? When the Tribes and De La's and all those guys came in, and when the West Coast kind of took it, and Cube kind of was the guy in 90, 91. When we talk about that 87 to 89 class, if you will, the way that those guys are rhyming, like with the rapid fire rhyme patterns and the rhymes on top of rhymes, those are things that kind of came back around after Illmatic came around. But when you think about it, Rakim really got the ball rolling on that, and he really was starchly, I don't want to say ahead of his time, but yeah, Eric B is president. That doesn't sound like somebody in 1987, Rob. Shout out to Mad Max in the building, man. I want to hear what Mad Max has to say about this Joey Badass stuff, man. Me and Servan had a back and forth yesterday, just through chat or whatnot, or through text message about Joey Badass and about, this record where it feels like Joey's coming at whoever. You know what I mean? I think the first thing people are gonna say is it's gonna be going towards Kendrick. And again, my Rakim listening, listening that I had today, if you will, for lack of a better term, was kind of based on what's going on here. I think that Rakim, when I listen to his lyrics and I listen to Kane and I listen to Cool G Rap, KRS, LL too, these guys sound like they were really, really ready to take on all challengers at any given moment, at any given time. The bar work could have went towards anybody. And Rakim was really, in my personal opinion, the catalyst for that. When you listen to Paid in Full as an album, it sounds like an album where he's like, look, battle me. Please do it. And then you got the same thing with Follow the Leader. I mean, EPMD got some smoke on the song Follow the Leader. We look at Let the Rhythm Hit Him. The song Let the Rhythm Hit Him really does sound like it was about Kane. I do remember, KRS is, I won't say well after LL, but I mean, when LL came in at 85, yes, he changed it. He changed things from what Run DMC and Houdini and those guys were doing. It was a little bit more rapid fire. If you want to listen to I Need a Beat, that'll give you that, computerized to the engineer's eyes have to be very acute, education level high. Like, guys weren't rapping like that. And LL did that on that record and on radio as well. But the evolution between that and what we heard on Eric B as president, when Rakim comes out in 87 talking like, I don't bug out, I chill to be acting ill, no tricks in 86, it's time to build, Eric B easy on the cut, no mistakes allowed, cause to me, MC, me smooth the crowd, I made it easy to dance to this. Like Kenya Tech was coming next from the flex of the risk taking needed I proceed, because my man made a mix. If he bleed, he ain't gonna need no band-aid to fix. Nobody's rapping like that in 1987. They're not. And when you listen to that and break that down and you really sit there and think like, whoa, this guy was on a whole nother page. And, KRS-One was great as well. You know what I'm saying? You had what he was doing. They came out around similar times, but, as polished as Rakim was, and it wasn't even about him giving this huge vocal inflection, which was very popular at the time. He was really laid back with it. And he had a great voice to be able to fall back on. He believed in his lyrics. He believed in his patterns. He believed in his delivery. He believed in his vocal approach too. There's a lot of things that Rakim had based on what the norms were in rap at the time going against him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had the norms of, you have to be very loud on the mic. You have to be very animated on the mic. Hood, all that stuff. He had all of that going against him, and he believed in his lyrics. He believed in his delivery. He believed in his songwriting. I went back and listen to my melody, man, I'm like, any of these verses could be one of the greatest verses of all time. I mean, even Eric B. is President, even if we talk about the iconic nature of the song Paid in Full in itself, it's one verse. It's like, yeah, any of these verses could go down as one of the greatest verses of all time. But yeah, I wanted to give Rakim his flowers once we're, since we're going to be talking about New York lyricism today and how I do feel like, for whatever reason, Joey Badass is getting discounted out here. I think that Joey Badass is really getting played out like he ain't put in the work in this game, like he hadn't been in here 10 years deep, like he hadn't given us solid efforts. Now, has he given us a good Kid, Mad City? Nah. But again, Joey made the decision to go out there and be somewhat independent throughout his path. And when you go independent throughout your path, your numbers, your impact, and all of those things are going to look very different towards in relation to your counterparts who may have signed to Dr. Dre. You know what I mean? It's a big thing. But again, I don't think that puts someone on a quote unquote pedestal where they feel like, nobody can sit here and challenge me. If we're being honest here, and I'm gonna get into this more when Saran gets on the line, but we're gonna be honest here, man. I mean, Kendrick and Drake. I mean, Drake got the hits and all that, but nobody really feels like Drake could see Kendrick on the mic, right? So, I mean, Kendrick beating Drake at a battle. I mean, is that even something that we're gonna give a whole lot of points for? Like, I mean, how challenging was that? And I think that if it was a straight up battle between Kendrick and J. Cole, I think maybe from a skill set standpoint, that'd be a little bit more challenging, a little bit more entertaining. But, like I said at the beginning of this thing, and you guys can, I got it on record here. What Kendrick needs to do is out rap Drake. That's what I said. And he did that. So it is what it is. But again, this whole thing where like Joey isn't on the level to respond to, I mean, they were all on one train together. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were all on ASAP's debut posse cut together. I mean, so I could see how Joey feels like, look, man, I need to just come through. When I come through, we got Servan here. I don't want to take up too much of the thunder. I want to be able to go back and forth with this. Are you on the line, Servan?
Yo, yo, yo.
So
yes, I'm here.
Man.
You hear me? Yo.
Yeah, there we go. What's going on, sir?
What's good?
Oh, my bad. Hold on, huh? I think I had your volume down. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here.
Nice jersey, man. The Hornets had one of the hardest jerseys ever, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Just a jacket, just a warm up jacket.
That's all it takes sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
We it's getting cold here. They saying it might snow here tomorrow. I'll when I see it, I believe it. We'll see.
I mean, there was some snow out there in New Orleans, man. I would never believe that. I think Houston got hit too. So,
I mean, West Florida, they getting it, Pensacola, stuff like that. So we'll see. That's close to the
yeah, you're right, LP. Not to interrupt you, man. Yeah, Joey was mentioned on Control, wasn't he?
Man,
you want to get into this Joey thing first?
Yeah, man.
I mean, because that's what everybody want to talk about.
Let's get into the Joey stuff,
Let's get into the Joey thing. So Joey Badass just celebrated his 30th birthday on, what was that, 2 days ago, yesterday, something like that. And yeah, he released a song at the same time. And in this record, he said, he wants all the smoke. And he said, no, what did he say? I'm paraphrasing this here. He says, I might delete this later. Joey won't. I want all the smoke. Now, we know that, from the past two freestyles that Joey's put out, or songs, or whatever you want to call them, he wants in when it comes to this battle thing. But I want to address that first part. You think that was obviously that was a shot at Cole. Do you think that was a strategic shot at Cole, knowing that Cole can't respond? Because if he does, it kind of looks weird that he's responding to Joey and bowed out the other thing.
Why is that weird?
Because the optics are you quick to jump at Joey, but you didn't want it with Kendrick.
Well, to his point, that makes sense why that would occur. Um, and I'm just saying this just to combat what you're saying.
Okay,
It wouldn't be of a problem for him to respond to Joey because him and Joey don't have that partnership or friendship that him, Drake, and Kendrick has. I don't know of that relationship being between Cole and Joey as it is with Kendrick. To
sure.
his statement, he feel he would have lost a brother or XYZ, whatever was the excuse. He has a relationship with those guys. Joey, he don't have a relationship with him. you know, uh, so I don't see what the problem would be if he responds. You know what I'm saying? I don't think just because he bowed out of that with Kendrick that means he should just be ducking smoke from everybody. You know what I'm saying? First of all, I want to say I appreciate Joey's efforts. You know what I'm saying? Even if it is clout chasing, I could respect somebody who wants that crown and wants to go for the crown. But you have a lot of ground to cover, my G. And like you said, he's been in the game for over 10 years. When we look at that 2013 Double XL rookie, that rookie cover, he's disappointing compared to other
You
counterparts.
think?
You
I
know,
disagree with that.
I
Oh,
think
let me go through the people who are on that cover while you talking. I'll pull up the cover. But go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, I mean he's disappointing compared to the other counterparts. I mean, we could make the argument of majors versus independents, but good music is good music, and good music covers all. I mean, we know with majors there's marketing, there's dollars, there's millions put behind artists, but there's also
Right.
a point where you have to deliver. And Joey hasn't been consistent. We've seen throughout my time, I've seen people like Logic, which I'm not a fan of, get mentioned more than Joey in these 10-year span. I've seen people like Action Bronson even get mentioned in that time span. And here we have Travis Scott, who's the biggest out of that whole cover of Double XL, still doing it to this day. That man just
Well,
performed at the national championship last night. You know what I'm saying?
let me go through that cover,
Yeah,
just so we know the names. We got Schoolboy Q on this cover. This is the 2013 freshman cover Servan's referring to. XXL. All right, Schoolboy Q, Trinidad James, Joey Badass, Absol, Logic, Action Bronson, Kurt Cobain's, Travis Scott, Dizzy Wright, Angel Hayes. Now, if I'm being honest here, my two favorite MCs, if we're talking about just bar for bar, two favorite MCs on here, I'm gonna go Joey and Ab. I like Schoolboy Q a lot. I like Schoolboy's ability to put together records, right? I like his production choice. He's a very dope album maker, if you will. But if I'm putting all these guys on a song together, I'm thinking either Joey or Ab's gonna have the best verse. Now, that's one thing.
I think Schoolboy Q lyrically is probably the best on there. I mean, I know we like
Like,
to give it that, but Schoolboy Q gets busy. But that's neither here or there. You know what I'm saying? Looking at this list and looking at the output, Joey has went mum throughout the years. It's been real quiet for him. The next time we see Joey's relevance is being on Power, and that's not even a shot to him. You have ground to cover when you're trying to go amongst greats. You're not even top. You're not even tier 3 of rappers who have that output. I wouldn't even put you in the category with where I would put a Wale or Big Sean right now, as far as quality and output. You need the
hmm.
consistency. You want to see you do it. These freestyles is cool. I really like the second one, but it's just like you're not gonna skip the line, bro, of all these people that's been putting in work consistently throughout the years and think just because you take shots at them that you deserve a response. I know people are saying, "Oh, well, nobody's exempt from responding." Yes, they are when you feel like they haven't covered as much ground as you. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like, let's keep it a stack, man. He doesn't have the work. He doesn't have the relevancy. Like, what would be the benefit of them responding to him? What would
all
be
right,
that?
this is what I do think. I do think you're discounting Joey's catalog. Joey got 1999. He got Summer Nights. He got Before the Badass. He got All American Badass, and he got 2000. Like, where is Joey not consistent? Now, I will say with this most recent effort, I expected more because I felt like, you know what I'm saying, like he was at that point of growth. But again, I mean, I think that all of the people have disappointed us with their recent efforts anyway. I think Joey is kind of like, I mean, he's a boom bap underground. When I say this, I mean, like, as far as his approach, he has a New York street approach to hip hop. And I feel like he is one of the few younger guys in his generation, or not so young anymore. He's 30 now, but the few guys of that era that was trying to keep a certain New York aesthetic and a New York sound alive. And I think that coupled with that and being independent, he kind of got overlooked, right? I think he got overlooked as far as his counterparts. I don't think that what you're saying, as far as the ground that he has to cover, has anything to do with his talents. I'll put it that way.
I think it does, though. I mean, the talent is there. We know he could rap. There's a lot of people that could rap who are not getting the recognition. Just rapping and having a skill of rapping, it's bigger than that when we're talking about in this game. We know it's bigger than that. If everybody was just being recognized just off their skill to rap, we'll have a lot of rappers that'll be put on that pedestal. But to me, Joey's not even within that third tier of that class from that point on until now, bro. Like, we have people that have covered the game for the last 10 years that have put out great bodies of work that is known by the masses, not just by a niche crowd. And again, that's not no shot to Joey. It's just saying that, hey, bro, you got some work to put in. Like, you really have to get to it. I appreciate you rapping. If one thing that we got from this battle between Kendrick and Drake, it should inspire people to rap. Don't talk about what you're about to do. Don't talk about what you could have said. Don't send subs. Like, get to rapping, bro. Don't even do the social media shit. Let's rap. I looked at an interview of Joey and he says he sees himself as being up there. And that's fine. If you're a rapper, you're supposed to think that way. You're supposed to think that you're going to be the best, you know, but for you, you have ground to cover, man. I don't see why everybody feels compelled that these guys should respond to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand what gives him rank above all these other artists that may be in front of that line of him. Think about Drake responded to X amount of rappers. And you know, it was the common thing between all those rappers he responded to. They have a lot of ground covered in the game to where it warrants a response. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
Mad Max with the super chat says Joey and Cole been cool. 1, 2. The might delete this later. He's like 1, 2. The might delete this later bar is for Daylight, not Cole, because Daylight deleted his tweet about the Cole projects that he was on. You think? I don't know, man. I think that's more about Cole, but I could be wrong. I could be
I take
wrong.
it as it being towards Cole. But like I'm saying, man, two of these guys that you're going against between that span of when he came out or when they all came out, they look how much ground Cole or Kendrick have covered, you know, compared to Joey. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, he's not even in the top tier of three of people that was putting in work from that time span until now. And I like Joey. I want to see him get to it. I like when people come out there and rap, but you're not about to just skip the line and be up here and just think that they're going to give you some light that could propel you and take them down. Like, what is the benefit, bro? Like I'm saying, man, like I get it, rap. But if this
Thumbs
is
up
your
in
way
the
of
chat.
doing
Look,
it, good luck
I
to
hope
you.
not to cut you off. Not to cut you off. I think where it gets murky at this point, and somebody mentioned Freddie Gibbs. I think in this era where things get a little bit murky is the fact that there are guys who might not get the major adoration and might not get all of the fanfare that many of the fans feel like put out an album or a project or a song or just having skill sets that are on par, if not better, than some of the people who are getting this fanfare. And I do think that when we talk about the greatness of Kendrick Lamar, everything that Kendrick Lamar is celebrated for the most part, it's about him being able to rap good. And like you said, it's more than that. But for whatever reason, when it comes down to Kendrick and even Eminem, just having skills or just having these couplets or these different rap patterns and stuff seem to be good enough for them. It's not because even when we start comparing Kendrick to, let's just say, a Pac or somebody like that, everybody leans towards Kendrick's skill. It's not about his songwriting. It's not about, his hit making, because I'm not really sold on Kendrick Lamar as a hit maker. I'm not really sold on Cole as a hit maker. The hit maker of this bunch is Drake.
I mean, you don't have to be sold on them. All three of them got hits. That can't be denied. Those points are up on the board. You can't revise history. Those jerseys are going to be in the rafters for them three. He has to get a start spot on the
Let me
board.
say it like this. Obviously, the numbers are there, and obviously Drake's in litigation right now, questioning some numbers of Kendrick Lamar. That's not me. That's just factual. But if we're talking about the hit records of Cole and Kendrick, let's start putting those hit records up against some of the all-time hit-making artists out there, and let's see where their hits land. I mean, I don't know. The numbers are the numbers. Streaming era, gets very murky because you can't really quantify the level of support, right? Like, somebody could be streaming your shit just to hate on your shit. But it's different when people were able to, when people had to go out there and support your music with their dollar. You know what I mean?
I understand that, but what does that have to do with Joey?
What I'm saying is, I think that the reason why a lot of people feel like Joey's not out of pocket or out of his range is because it's not even clear that people like Kendrick Lamar and even Cole are just like hit makers to that regard, where Joey can't do what they do. Now, I think Joey's missing a great album. I think he's missing a hands down classic. I mean, even when you talk about guys like Black Moon in the 90s, they got, you know what I'm saying, they got Into the Stage. Like, you got to have that classic. I think 1999 is heavily revered for Joey, but I think in modern times, and since he's been in the game 10 years, he needs that effort that's going to stop the hip hop world. He needs to, even if we're looking at like West Side Gun, he needs to Pray for Paris. He needs from Conway, like from a king to a god. He needs Alfredo, like Freddie Gibbs. He ain't got that. That's real. And I think that if he's actually building on that with this level of momentum, I'm cool with that. But I do think it does get dangerous in a sense where we feel like no matter what Joey Badass does, he doesn't warrant a response from Kendrick. And again, this is a rapper who was in
moving the goalpost.
He was in the Control verse, was he not?
Not that I don't remember Joey being mentioned on there.
Joey wasn't mentioned on Control. Let's go back to the list.
I don't remember. I could be wrong, but I really don't remember Joey being mentioned on Control.
Okay, we'll go back to the list.
But you're moving the goalpost, Mike. What I'm saying is, there's not whatever he says he shouldn't want a response. Is that, bro, there's levels to this shit. You're not about to skip the line, bro. You have ground to cover. You've been in here for 10 years and look what the output is. It's like you're a new old artist. People have to be re-familiar with you outside of your niche now. You know what I'm saying? You've been in the game for 10 years and look what your output has been. You're really considered an old new artist. The benefit of him is he's still young. You know what I'm saying? But you're considered an old new artist. You've been out since for over 10 years. And we look at what's going on now, and it's like, what is it that propels you, that warrants those response for you? What work have you put in? It's not whatever you've done, we're not going to notice it. It's what have you done for these last 2 years, so why I should even respond to your ass. That's what it really is.
LP like, with the super chat says,
not on my level. I don't care about how your skill is. I put in work in this game. I put those numbers up on the board. What have you done to warrant my response? And if this is a
in that way, I think
then we'll have a lot of greats responding to peons. We will. We'll have.
Joey is a peon.
No,
I don't agree.
What I said, bro. I said, I don't like when you guys do that shit. If I'm saying if this is hip hop and it is a everybody can get it type thing, we'll have greats responding to peons. If it was hip hop and everybody can get it, we'll have greats responding to reality stars that just figure, I just want to diss them to get some clout. If it was hip hop and everybody can get it, you know what I'm saying? By those rules and those metrics of what you guys say on, that's how it will go. I like Joey. But Just because those are niche little albums that are regional that people like, it didn't cover much ground as these people he's taking those shots at. Put in more work. Be consistent. Come with those classics. Give us something hot, bro. And then maybe you could be in that conversation.
Well, this stuff
Is
is
that
hot. Oh, let me get to the super chats real quick. LP says Max is right. Daylight was on the album too. Day said that he lost his mind in New York. Name Flip Day, real and stage name. Yeah, okay. He responded to the to a cat, not on his level. Okay. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. Mad Max to the super chat says, LOL, Pac responded to Chino XL. Hove responded to Joe Button. Nas responded to Cormega. Only Dot, the protected boogeyman, don't have to battle based on his status. That's never been a thing in hip hop. It's a good point.
he responded
Those
to
are good
Chino
points.
XL because he said something personal about him being raped in prison, dog. And we know what that was back then. Let's not revise history. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Nas did respond to
Revise
Cormega
it.
um,
And we know the
at
relationship
the
of that
height.
as well. And to your point of hit making, you want to say somebody who's not hit makers and all of that, but still will get the credits. You guys held him up there, Nas, right? He's not known of being a hit maker. You guys put him up there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you say
I think
things
Nas
like
has
that,
hits
as far
though.
as a Kendrick or a Cole are not being the hit makers and the thing or whatnot, we could apply those same things to those guys by your argument, bro. It
I
has
think
nothing to
Nas
do with that.
has. I think Nas has way more legit hits than Cole and Kendrick. Mad Max with the super chat says, if LL
Wow.
battled Cannabis, Dot can give he can give Joey a verse. That's true. I mean, he did battle Cannabis out the gate, and he's a superstar, and he had a whole sitcom and everything. LL could have ignored Cannabis for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
he could have ignored him and lost credibility as well. That we
well,
know what that did for reviving his career because at that time beforehand they were trying to put him in a pot of being a lady, just a artist that makes lady records from that point on. That reestablished him in a rapper world of gaining that reputation that and that back. Like I said, we can't stop. We can't revise history, bro. That's what I'm saying.
no,
We
I
can't.
mean, I think all of it's important. I think that, especially if you're the boogeyman, I get that. I do think that, you ain't got to accept every single battle because even with the control thing, right? When he did the control verse and you had people like Papoose responding to it, Joel Ortiz responding to it, he didn't respond to any of them. And
Correct.
I guess I get that, but at the
And
same time,
Isn't Joel Ortiz lyrically skilled as well?
yeah.
Okay then.
But I mean, I don't understand why he didn't respond then either. It seems very selective. And again, when you look at somebody like Drake, it's kind of like, and I'm gonna keep it real. Y'all know how dope I think Ti is and was as an MC and what he did, but he targeted Flip. He knew that he could get a victory off of Flip. He knew Flip could see him bar for bar, and he went all in. Whereas, at the time, it would have been a lot more difficult to go head on with Ludacris because Ludacris was huge at the time. He was bigger than him and very, very skilled as well. So the easy target was Flip. Now I'm not sitting here saying that Drake was a quote unquote easy target for Kendrick, but he is an easier target lyrically than some others. He
That's
does
not
have
why.
the popularity on his side.
But like I said, we can't revise history. He didn't take that shot because he felt it was just going to be an easy thing. He took that shot because you have a guy of throughout the years that's keep on dissing you on the low, sneak dissing you and
Who
provoking
started it?
side. And
No,
you
no,
came.
no. We're not gonna do that.
They
Who
have been
started
sending
the
Kendrick and Drake had been sending sub disses to each other for years, bro.
But
Mostly
I
on
feel
Drake's
like
side.
Kendrick
They've been doing that
started
for
it
years.
with the nothing was the same, sensitive rapper out of his
No, you know
pajama
what started
clothes.
it? The catalyst of all this was control, and he felt some way. Even Drake has an interview where he talked about where he's getting all emotional about Kendrick on a control verse that on I
Right.
think it was Rap Radar he was talking with them on. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we can't start revising the history of that, bro. Like if this was hip hop and anybody goes and everybody should respond to each other, why didn't Joey respond to Lupe?
Why didn't Joey respond to Lupe?
Yeah, and Lupe's bigger than him.
What do you mean when he's supposed to respond to Lupe for something?
Why shouldn't he?
Listen, man, I'll tell you this, because nobody wants it with Lupe. Bar for bar. I mean, let's just be
But,
honest.
but, but, but Kendrick still
What Lupe
fine. That's
did, I will say
what
this:
we
what
talking
Lupe
about.
did the worst of 5'9", I think when you do things like that, it scares off a lot of people. I remember when Mos Def was trying to come at Drake, subliminally, and he was talking about battle anybody, and then Lupe was like, "Okay, well, what's up?" And he's like, "Well, I ain't got time for that stuff. I don't sit around writing battle rap." So I've seen many people run from having to deal with somebody of Lupe's skill set bar for bar. I mean, and again, I think that that's a respect thing. And I started off the show talking about Rakim. I think that during Rakim's era, guys really didn't want to go head up with him bar for bar. I do think that it is a rite of passage in a sense where Joey, many people, if they really believed that Kendrick is where everybody says he is, wouldn't even try it because they would be afraid to. And I got to give Joey credit for not being afraid of the Kendrick smoke or whatever smoke there is out there. LP with the super chat says, Savon can't call Joey niche. He has 8 million streams a month, which is more than Griselda and Freddie Gibbs
Bro,
combined,
it's
and mad
funny.
other rappers.
It's funny. You guys like to use numbers when it goes to your argument, but when we use numbers for anything else, you be like, "Oh, numbers doesn't matter." So I don't give a damn about any of that that's being said.
Well, all right. Well, with
Because
that
we
being
use
said,
numbers, we use numbers when it's convenient to get an argument over, bro. That doesn't mean that you have skin in the game to where these guys should respond to you. Put some
now
work
what
in.
makes hold on, let's
Joey.
rewind this. What makes Joey niche to you?
Joey, all right. We looked at that 2013 cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
We seen people that had success on that, right? It's been 10 years. And how many hip hop conversations has Joey been mentioned?
I mean, I
Since
think he's
we're talking about the
mentioned.
span of these, no, we're talking about the span of these 10 years. When has Joey been a topic of this conversation? We have people on there that gets talked about more. When has Joey been in the conversation for 10 years?
Well, the people on his cover, I think we normally cover when they're dropping something. I mean, we got Schoolboy, Trinidad James, Joey, Absol, Logic, Action, Kurt Cobain's. Travis is probably the biggest name there. Dizzy Wright and Angel Hayes. So yeah, I mean, I think the people that are on this cover kind of get covered when they drop music. Schoolboy included. So I don't know,
That's
man. I mean,
convenient to try to get your argument off, because if we want to compare numbers, then a lot of my arguments would have been won a long time ago with Jay.
well, who does know?
You
Well,
know?
no. I mean, I think that the numbers came in effect when we're talking about where Joey is as far as like, being niche. I think that Joey
He's a
is
rapper.
one of those, he's one of those acts that has a base. Like I remember Obama's daughters were big, saying pro era fans. I think that pro era thing was a movement in itself, for the people who followed it, but it was still, I don't want to say underground. He kind of has, I don't want to give him the Tyler thing, but he has a market, and but he doesn't have a super mainstream market or a mainstream market at all. But he has a bigger audience than, as they said, the Griselda and Freddie Gibbs guys. He's kind of on the cusp, if you will. Again, I think he's one real great album away. But again, that's not an easy thing to do.
See, when I'm making my rebuttal to this, it makes it seems like I don't like Joey, and I like Joey, but what I'm saying is he doesn't have the skin in the game for that, man. Not in 10, and it's 10 years. The output and the recognition of it and the relevancy just has not been there, bro. If Joey wasn't from New York, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Oh, you think that's what it is? I
Yeah,
mean,
if Joey wasn't from New York, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
hmm, that's interesting. All right, let me ask you this. The fact that Joey is the topic of conversation right now, and I think the music he's making is dope. If you were assigned to be the executive producer of Joey's next effort, what direction do you go? Like, what's next for a Joey Badass project? Because obviously, all of this has to build up to a project, or it's just, or it's just really cloud chasing.
Um, I gotta ask two questions here. Are the reason that we're talking about these two freestyles from Joey is because they're strictly dope, or is it because who he's rapping at?
It's because he's rapping at. We got to be honest.
Okay, so that says a
Just
lot.
like we got to be
So
honest that Not Like Us is huge because of who it's about.
yeah, but he has big records before Not Like Us.
Yeah,
So
yeah, he
that's
does.
yeah. Let's not act like he doesn't have the work before that.
But there's levels when it comes to cloud chasing.
And yeah, and when I say this, like I'm saying, I don't knock him for feeling like he's on a level of those. When you step in that game, you're supposed to feel like you ready to crush anybody in your way, that you the best.
Right.
I'm not mad at that, bro. I'm not mad at that at all. I'm not mad at you for coming out here and rapping, because that's what I asked for in previous episodes. I said, hey, I just want people to rap. I want you to make good music. And I stand by that. So the only thing I'll simply say is consistently keep on making this good music. If the eyes is on you now, if people talking about you now, build on that. I want the hits. I want your organic sound, what you stick to, everything. Stay true to you and still make it happen for you, bro. If you feel like you up there, go get that. Go chase that trophy. Go take that crown. But this
What's
is,
a hit look like for Joey Badass in 2025 though?
man, these days I don't even know what a hit looks like now. I guess it's whatever grows to the people, whatever blows up on the internet, whatever the people as a group say is hot right now. There's not a specific sound for a hit no more. I think that went out the window when you can get on the radio and you listen to songs that are about 1 minute and they're being spun in regular rotation. I mean, there's really no formula for it. I guess it's just about you going out there and believing it and pushing it like it's your last day on earth, man. And if it popped for you, it popped. Like I said, I'm not mad at what he's doing, but it's just like, all right, is this gonna be what all you're on, or are we gonna actually get some dope music to follow this? Like, what's coming? You know what I'm saying? Like, just keep the good music coming, man.
This
That's
is what
all.
I would say. If I were, if I had the honor and the pleasure of actually executive producing this next Joey Badass album, definitely I think length of projects is really something that I've seen that's kind of hurt and helped, certain artists. I think you got to have things within that, 1 to 10 song frame. I do think that in that 1 to 10 song frame, I think he needs to show off his best lyrical attributes, whether that be storytelling. I think he should have, if we're looking at like, because he always reminds me of Mr. Cheeks for whatever reason, man. I don't know if it's his approach or whatever, but I would like to see like a Renee or something coming out of Joey. And if we're talking about, a single or something that's going to heat things up, I think that it should be something that showcases his strongest attribute, which is his delivery, his skill set, and all of that. I'm thinking like whether it be a conductor beat or whether it be, whoever. I would like to see like an Emily type of approach where you just get on the record and just go crazy. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes artists like him, they kind of lose it with trying to do a collab with Gunna or trying to do a collab with, Quavo for a single. Um, I think that, even if we're talking about this year alone, I think that Leangelo Ball showed us that, yeah, you could go pull into your early 2000s bag and get some success with it. You know what I'm saying?
That's not a
Um,
that's not what I consider like a hit. That's something that the internet laughed into popularity. You know what I'm saying? And this is what the reaction of that is. That's not a hit record. You know what I'm
you don't
saying?
think so? Okay.
No, it's not a hit record. That was something that people sensationalized and laughed until it got popular. Like, that grew because of the internet. That's not a hit record. Not in my opinion, at least.
I think people jam to it because of the nostalgia that it gives. Like you said, it could have started off as something like that, but I think that after a while, and you're listening to the song, it's like, okay, well, I'm actually liking this because it reminds me of something. You know what I mean? Oh man,
And
Michael Williams with the super chat says, if Jay made a new album solely produced by a single producer, who would you most want it to be? Also, do you think Jay is finally dropping in 2025? I don't think Jay is dropping in 2025, but if there was one producer that could handle a whole Jay-Z project in 2025, who would I want that to be? Um, do you have an answer for that? I'm thinking. 'Cause I
Uh,
want,
that's a good question
um,
because Jay hasn't had an album that's solely produced by one producer.
well, No ID did the last one, but that's about it. Yeah. If he one producer, and I wouldn't want it to be somebody. I wouldn't want it to be The Alchemist. I would.
I would say Tim. I think he makes some of his best records with Timbaland.
I used to feel that way too, and I still do feel that way to a certain degree. But you mentioned like you didn't like Off That, right? And I thought about it. It's like Jay got some of his best stuff with Timbaland. Got some of his worst stuff with Timbaland too. That's So Many Hoes in Hit record on the Blueprint 2 is one of his worst records ever. I think that Sean Paul song too. Did Timbaland do that too? That song's
I don't
bad.
know. I know what song
Um,
you talking about.
yeah, awful. And I saw Timbaland, and I love Timbaland. I don't want this to come across a wrong way. I'm just being critical, as I always say. I saw Timbaland do Record Roulette for Mass Appeal. Shout out to Mass Appeal. And man, it was terrible, man. And for those who aren't familiar with the platform and the format, they take a producer into a record shop, give them random records, and tell them to go make a record. Now, granted, that whole sampling style might not be Timbaland's strongest, thing, from a soul sample standpoint. But Ninth Wonder went in there and killed it. I mean, that's his thing.
You
But
know,
I
like
don't know, man. I think when I saw Timbaland and Jay, I had really, really high expectations for Holy Grail, and they really came short on that. And for the expectations that I had of Tim and Jay working together. Now, yeah, if they made a whole project together in 1999, I'm all for it. But right now, I don't know. In 2025,
I mean, just with the sound that Jay has been on, like since 444, and him being more like conversational,
yeah,
consistently throughout albums. Um, I know Tim gives you the bigger records, sound wise, everything. Just the sonics of it are bigger. Um, he works well with No ID. He does work well with No ID. I wouldn't even be mad at a No ID and Pharrell stuff because I feel like Pharrell brings out some of his introspective records in a little bit. Allure, So Ambitious, things of when he's talking about stuff conveys in Pharrell's production. But yeah, amidst of that, No ID I wouldn't be mad at.
I got an answer. I got an answer since you mentioned those people. Full circle moment. I would like Ski Beats to do the whole Jay Z album. Um, for those who don't remember, Ski Beats, Dead Presidents, Politics as Usual. Even if we're talking about the stuff that he did with Currency in the I won't say the digital era, but the blog era. Remember the song Address?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, shit was crazy. Ski Beats got beats for days. He's selling beat packs and stuff now too, I believe. But I would be interested to see what Jay coming back around and working with Ski Beats and maybe Sauce Money or something on a new project looks like. I like the Mad Lib pick too. I'm with that. I think Mad Lib and Jay would be crazy. I
Yeah,
do.
it's just kind of hard to determine like the next thing he's gonna be on. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
when you're going from Watch the Throne and Magna Carta and you know, and then the album with Beyonce, I didn't expect 444 to be the type of album that it is. You know what I'm
No,
saying? In full.
right.
You know what I'm
And
saying? So
that's,
we can never kind of guess like the next thing he's gonna be in or the next sound or the next wave or whatever zone he's in. I guess that's kind of like some mystique to older Jay, you know?
yeah. And that's why I picked Ski Beats, right? Because I feel like whatever Jay's on, Ski could probably adjust to it for the. I mean, based on what we're seeing right now, like I don't think that we're gonna get Jay going out there making big pimping in 2025. Like, I think what he's going to do, if he's going to do anything, would be more in line with what we heard and saw in 444. I mean, shit, 444 is even 8 years old at this point. So I think that we're going to get more grown, more, more less clubby type stuff. So
I
with
just don't
that
see us
being
getting a
said,
J record this year, though. I'm gonna be honest with you.
no,
I don't
no, I
see
don't
it.
see that.
Yeah.
But I would like to see what him and Ski Beats can put together, man. Pilot Talk was great. With what I'm saying, Ski Beats understands how to make full projects for people in this era. He's actually kind of one of the architects of that, if we're being honest. I know we're talking about, artists and producers collabing and all that, man. Currency was doing that really, really early on. And, a lot of people caught hold of that. And, him and Ski Beats were a big part of that. So, yeah, I would like to see Jay and Ski do a whole, full circle moment and make a project together, man. I think it would be dope too. I think that Ski has the type of progressive sound where he wouldn't be out here trying to remake Dead Presidents either. He's kind of like a Pete Rock guy where he's always active. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he has to like dust off the, the cobwebs or something to get busy. I think Ski Beats and Jay in 2025. That would be my pick. That's my pick.
Yeah, I mean, I would want it to be, whatever best suit, whatever vibe he's in, whatever zone he's in. Like I said, it worked well with Nas and Hit Boy. Like
Yeah.
that sound, it didn't work out too well with him and Kanye, which I thought when they was going to collab, I thought that was going to be a good thing. But
Yeah.
what Kanye did with Tiana Taylor and Nas' stuff, I was disappointed. So
Yeah. I don't think Kanye put in the work, man. I think that I don't know what happened with Daytona. Maybe it was a lightning in the bottle moment. Probably put in work there. Maybe Daytona actually inspired him to want to make these other efforts, but the work wasn't in it for those other efforts. I mean, the easy answer, would be to say, excuse me, Kanye in this moment, but I don't think Kanye's there right now. And it's hard to say that Kanye is the greatest hip hop producer of all time, or wherever he needs to be on that list, if I can't really have that level of confidence as Kanye as a producer in this moment. At some point, got to get that confidence back, and I don't have confidence in Kanye as a producer right now. I don't. I mean, that's just being honest.
We'll see what he comes with this next album. I can't call it on here. I mean, I haven't liked his last efforts, but I think when Ye is inspired in a way, there's going to be something that you get out of him that's new and sound. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I think Ye is in that place, right? He's in that place where, and he's the type of artist where, yeah, I can give you what you want, and it's going to be quality, but I want to take chances and I want to grow as an artist. It's like this interview that Pharrell did with Q-Tip back in the day. Actually, it was actually on Pharrell's Other Tone show. He had Q-Tip on as a guest, and Q-Tip is Pharrell's idol as a producer, as an artist, and all those things. Learned a lot from him. But Q-Tip asked him, like, why did you guys move away from that sound, that Neptune sound that they had in the early 2000s? And he told him, it was like, look, I felt like, I made everything that I could make with those sounds. Like, even if I made stuff over and over again with those sounds, it might sound different to people, but for me, it sounded the same, and it sounded like I wasn't growing. And I think that's where Kanye is in his production, where it's like he's trying to find that thing that, like you said, drives him. But in the midst of finding those things, people are like, well, we don't really like this as much as we like that. You know what I mean? And those are struggles that artists go through. But
Yeah,
I think he needs to find that lane where he's confident in it again.
Yeah, he's a victim to his own creativity and his own greatness and his own madness.
Yeah.
Nobody else.
He's one of those people that, like, everything that we like him for are the reasons why we don't like him at those times too.
Yeah, facts.
So, but yeah, I know we went off on a brief tangent, but I think that what Joey needs is, I like what Joey does with Static Selector. I don't know what a Joey Badass hit looks like, and I don't. Maybe a Joey Badass hit looks like, what Lil Baby's what was the name of that song? You know what I'm talking about. Um
Oh, you
uh,
just need some bigger
the record
records, man.
20,
So,
where he's talking about actual things that are going on in the world. I don't know if that's what a Joey hit looks like, but I don't
just
know
need
if Joey's that kind of artist though. Like Joey's here to make raw and rugged, you know what I'm saying, East Coast sound and shit. And maybe that's just what it is. And he can double down on that and make sure it's quality. But I think that's still gonna be viewed to some as a niche record.
and that's his that I mean, and that's why he hasn't got to that next hump. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason. It's because you're still stuck in this boom bap only for New York, whatever. Like outside of New York, like that has to translate still, bro. Like,
Well, I think, and
just
see, this
saying.
is why I hold records like Nas has made you look so high. I think that is in the wheelhouse of an artist who makes music in the style that Joey makes it, right? I think Made You Look is a banger. Made You Look is a hit. And not to say that I think Joey can make Made You Look because Nas is special, but what I'm saying is a record that translates outside of, you know what I'm saying, the normal Joey listener like that. Or shit, man, like I said, he reminds me so much of Mr. Cheeks, man. Even if you look at Lex Coops Beamers in the Benz, like those are not records that took away from, who Lost Boys was as a group, but they were very playable records for people outside of the East Coast. Like they were playing that shit down here.
I mean,
Um,
we'll
but
see
again,
if
I
we
know that's like 30 something years ago.
we'll see if we're still having a conversation about Joey in the next month or so.
I hope we do because I do love
I do
Joey's
too.
approach. I think
I want him to pop. You know, again, like just I want him to grow. You know, I want him to be bigger. I do, but
I
you
think he
know,
can. I think he has the ability to do it. I mean, I've been following Joey's career since he was in high school, man. So I mean, I knew that he had a level of potential. Um, and he chose to go the independent route. I think the fact that he was so heavily sought after at that point was one of the reasons why he went the independent route. Now, I know people are going to kill me for this, but the person that could really make Joey some hits at a certain era and who would be the perfect person over his project, if Puff had his hands on Joey's project, man, you know, I think things would be different for sure. I think Puff knew what it took for a grimy MC out of Brooklyn to go out there and be shiny and mainstream. What he did with Biggie, even though Biggie is probably one of the most skilled MCs I've ever, listened to with my own ears, what he was able to do with Biggie was miraculous. It's something that I don't think any other executive would have been able to do, especially in that time period. If you listen to what Biggie sounded like on Party and Bullshit and what he ended up becoming, that's amazing what Puff was able to do.
we'll
Yeah,
see what
pause. I'm sure there's a lot of pauses in there, but I'm just being real.
we'll see what he puts out from here. You know what I'm saying? I guess if
I think
Kendrick didn't
those
respond,
are romance.
if Kendrick didn't respond, he had to see if he can kick up dust with Cole. I mean, good
Well, yeah,
attempts.
I don't think it's in Cole's best interest to respond. I don't want Cole, and even if this bar wasn't towards Cole per se, like you guys say, I think whenever we hear Mike delete this later, it's synonymous with Cole and what Cole did in that moment last year.
If I'm at
I
Cole,
don't want. I don't
I'm
think
screaming
Cole's
at
gonna end up
everybody.
being the punching bag to anybody, but
Yeah,
I just don't. I don't like the route that Cole's going at this point. I'm just being honest.
no problem with what Cole's gonna do from now because honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't even think nobody's putting that stamp on there as much as it been amplified when we do these shows, man. I don't really think there's gonna be a shitload of people that's gonna be at Dreamville this year. There's gonna be a
Yeah,
shitload of people that's gonna listen to that album, just like there's a shitload of people that's tuning into this podcast. I think, man, that was some stuff that people just want to talk about, and it's gone, bro. I don't really think that stamp stays on them like everybody wants it to be. I just don't think that is there. I think it was blown up bigger than what it was. I mean, like, yes, I didn't like seeing that. Me as a hip hop fan, I thought it was corny, but I just don't think that stint stays on him, bro. Especially with seeing how Drake how he's handling this stuff. I don't
yeah,
think that stint stays on Cole at all. I think all Cole has to
yeah.
do is put out this stuff and he'll be fine.
I mean, Cole's looking a lot better than Drake's looking right now, for sure. Mad Max with the super chat says, Joey ain't Mr. Cheeks, Mike. LOL, let's relax now. Yeah, I know he's not Mr. Cheeks. Shout out to Mr. Cheeks, legendary Mr. Cheeks. Great songwriter. Renee is not some regular rap song that everybody can make. But yeah, I do think that if the whole point for Joey here is to get inspired and get hungry, and make some of the best music that he's ever made, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, only a few people have been able to make some of their best work at this far in their career. Again, this is why I always harp on Common's B. I mean, he made B 13 years in his career. And by my estimation, it's his best album. You really don't get rappers, hip hop artists, whatever you want to call it, making their best effort 13 years in their career. That doesn't happen often. But with Joey starting so young, still being pretty young here, and being as hungry as he is, hey man, the opportunity's out there, but you got to do it. And I don't think Kendrick's gonna respond. You're right. Kendrick's huge in the game, man. He's about to do the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks, man. And he just took out probably one of the biggest pop stars of the 21st century. He's riding high right now, and he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to play in the mud, as Jay Prince would say. It's not beneficial to him.
Yeah, man. But we'll see.
I don't think I mean, again, I always give Jay props. When Jay was at his height, he was, slapping around everybody. The Takeover is a very underrated, I don't want to say underrated, but it's an underappreciated record for all the other people that he was able to knock off their pedestals, if you will. Mobb Deep was never the same. Prodigy was never the same after the Takeover. He even gave, J.O. Felony some, you know what I'm saying? And for all the other dudes throwing shots at Jigga, you only get a half a bar. Fuck y'all niggas. So, I mean, there's room. And I do think that Joey Badass is somewhat worthy of just a mere slap from Kendrick. But I agree. If the focus needs to be on putting together a body of work that everybody holds as high as Good Kid, Mad City, Damn, or even To Pimp a Butterfly. And Joey doesn't have that. And, if you want to beat a man, you got to beat the man, but you also have to be able to put in the work to be in position to beat the man. So
yeah, I don't think Kendrick is shaking his boots from these these Joey freestyles. I don't
and he
think so.
shouldn't, and he should. I think that he can look at that as like, okay, cool. I'm inspiring folks, as he should, But what he needs to inspire Joey to do is to make that album, man. That's just what it
Yeah.
is.
Stop dancing around. If you really want smoke, say the man's name.
That too.
That's
That
another
too.
reason why it seems really clout-like to me. But we'll see.
I agree. And I think Super said that in our group chat. Like, all of this subliminal stuff is cool, but if you really, really want to get the internet jumping, you really want to get it going, say somebody's name. And that's just what it is. But for whatever reason, that's being reserved. Maybe he's waiting for the album on that. I don't know. But all right. Another conversation that we had in our group chat was this is Kendrick based too, but they were saying that Kendrick and SZA are the best rapper R&B combination today. And it made
They
us
said
think about
they didn't
all
say
time.
right
Go ahead.
now. Yeah, they said they have like one of the best R&B hip hop collabs right now. You know,
Okay.
um,
And it
they
made us
have
think like
fun.
who, yeah, what are some of the best R&B and hip hop collabs ever? Mad Max in Super Chat says, LOL, taking out a pop star in hip hop, you kill me. You say that Drake is a pop star and give dude credit for beating him. Imagine us praising Nas for beating Nelly, but not responding to MF Doom or Mr. Cheeks. I'm glad Mr. Cheeks is in the lexicon now. Um, but yeah, some of the best R&B and hip hop collaborators or combinations, if you will. I mean, is Beyonce and Jay just number one? Is that where we're at?
Beyonce and Jay has the biggest records of consistent collabs. There's a
Mhm.
lot of great R&B and hip hop collabs. There's timeless classics, but the consistency of there's not a lot of consistency of an R&B artist working with the same hip hop artist multiple times. There's only a few artists that have the luxury of doing that. And so, of course, J and B, they have the top number one records as like not number one as far as Billboard, but like as far as those bigger records and being number one on those consistent R&B and hip hop collabs. I mean, they have Crazy in Love, '03 Bonnie and Clyde, Upgrade You, Deja Vu, That's How You Like It, Drunk in Love, On the Run Part 2, Shining, Ape Shit. These are big records from them. But there are other people that have them as well. When we think about consistency of them working together, we have Kendrick and SZA, who this what this convo spawned from. They are on the run right now. They have Babylon, All of the Stars, Luther, Gloria, 30 for 30, Doves in the Wind. These are records that are good records between them. They're building a solid consistency of working together. Um, I think the game and Marshall Ambrosius have some consistent working records throughout the time as well. Start from scratch, Why They Hate the Game, Sins of Our Fathers, I Didn't Want to Write this song, What's Going On. Then you have Drake and Rihanna, that has work, What's My Name, Take Care, and Too Good. But like those are people who consistently have worked together on multiple records. There are really big R&B and hip hop records of artists that only collab like once and twice. Like Nas and Lauryn Hill. You know,
Yeah.
we only got what
Well,
like two
well,
collabs
they
from
they they collab twice.
recently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because they're on nobody. Mad Max with the super chat, excuse me, said the answer is Mary and whoever. Well, this is why Mary is called the queen of hip hop. So I will say this: the chemistry between Mary and Meth on "I'll Be There for You" it's just undeniable. It's hard for any individual, I guess, song or collabo to really match. I do
mm.
think that if we're talking about, putting songs together, song structure, and who you want in the studio, I will give Ja Rule and Ashanti a lot of credit. They really sounded great together. They made some really dope records together. We got Tater Top to the super chat says best is Ross and John Legend, but
Ross and John
biggest
Legend got some good
Wayne
joints.
and Chris. What do you think about Wayne and Chris? I didn't think about Wayne and Chris.
Yeah,
It's
Wayne
a
and
good
Chris
one.
got some records. They got some records. It's not a lot as we think, but they do have some big records.
Yeah. I mean, Look
They
at
have
Me
some,
Now is one of them.
mhm.
Loyal's one of them. Yeah,
They
Wayne
have
and
some
Chris
big
got some
records
joints.
together.
I do like what Ross and John Legend do. To
I do
me,
too.
and don't get me on my
I
John
love
Legend
it.
tangents, I just think that John Legend's approach is too predictable for me, man. Like he like sounds the same on every record. Like you already know how
That
it's gonna
church
sound.
sound.
Like, it's like we already know what John's gonna come with it, man. Like it ain't gonna be nothing like you know.
Wayne and Chris actually Wayne and Chris actually go up there. And I think another one that go up there as far as collabs too. And I know it's easily, I guess people don't mention them up there no more because 50 have made it that way for some time. It's Ja Rule and Ashanti. They was killing the
I think so
game.
too.
They was killing the game, Mesmerize and a lot of the other joints that they had beforehand. Damn, man, They had
Always
records.
on
I
time.
feel the same way about how many collabs did Fabulous have with Lil Mo?
He had
But they had like
about
3.
4. They were dope together. Yeah. Yeah, Fab and Lil Mo was dope together. Somebody said Biggie in total. I mean, if we're talking about one-off situations, I think that the one-off situation definitely is, and they were a group or whatever, but Regulate by Warren G and Nate Dogg is just, I mean, whenever you have a situation where the R&B singer comes in and saves the rapper from getting his ass beat, it's like, how do you even compete with that? You know what I'm
Nate
saying? Like he came through and
was a
laid
hook
everybody down.
king, the hook
Hmm?
king. He was a hook
Oh
king
yeah.
at that time, man.
Well, does T
That's another
Pain have
conversation.
a consistent collaborator that we could connect him with? Would that be
Him and Wayne,
Wayne?
him and Wayne,
Huh?
him and Wayne got some joints.
I like, you know what? Honestly, I liked Wayne in Lloyd's collabs a little bit better, in my personal opinion.
How many joints? Like they have you. They got All Around the World, which was a Lloyd record. What other Lloyd and Wayne joints was there?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, but I'm just talking about the few that they have. They sounded
Yeah,
great
there's a
together.
lot of great one-off joints, and those don't get excluded from the conversation at all. I mean, because
You know
you
what?
know,
Speaking of one-off joints, man, I like Mariah Carey and Crazy Bone. Like, I
I
think
like that joint too.
they sounded so
I do
great
like
together.
that joint. Yeah, that was a
The few times that they did something together, like they sound great together. The way that Mariah Carey was flowing on Breakdown, it's just and the way that Crazy Bone was able to kind of, and Wish too. But Crazy and Mariah, they collabed a lot together in that period, or a few times in that period. And it was dope every single time. Somebody said Bow Wow and Sierra. Um, I like and I said this in our chat too. I think Big Boy and Sleepy Brown too, and they've made a lot of music together. I've always said that I felt like Sleepy Brown was somewhat the third Outcast member, and when Outcast kind of disbanded or whatever, it's like they kind of carried it on. I mean, Sleepy Brown goes on tour with Big Boy.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of great one-offs. Here's one of my favorites. I don't know how big of a record this was, like mainstream wise back then. I remember they had the video and all that back then, but I really like the Carl Thomas and Ghostface and Raekwon record, Never Be the Same Again. That was my shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
It
like
was
that
one of
shit.
those, man. As a Ghostface fan, it's like, yeah, I liked it, but it wasn't what I wanted to hear from
Yeah, it's
Ghost. So
not what you want to hear. It's like Churchill Ghost. Like it's like
yeah,
that. Like I can see how you can say that.
yeah, it was like I didn't want to
When
hear Ghost making an R&B record at
I,
the
I
time.
like
I
that
mean, we
record.
coming off Supreme Clientele.
But it's like I
Oh, I
like.
like
I
Janet
mean,
Jackson and Q-Tip.
do you
Janet
feel
and
that way
Q-Tip.
about the Neo and Ghost record though? Because those are sort of the same as
Hmm.
far as the feel, the content, and what they talking about. I like that Neo and Ghost record.
I like the Neo and Ghost record a lot, actually. Cause you don't get a nigga back like that, no. Ghost
Yeah,
and
man.
Mary. I didn't think
There's some
about that.
one-offs, man. I mean, as much
Mary
as
has, you know what, Mary, can we say that Mary is probably the best hip hop collaborator? Because even if we talk about Jay-Z and Beyonce really doesn't do those great collabs with the rest of the hip hop world. I mean, I guess because she's, so huge or whatever, but she doesn't really, outside of Jay, we don't really get Beyonce collabing with the rest of the hip hop world in that way. But she did a record with Nicki and stuff.
hmm. I mean, for me, Jay-Z and B do have a lot of big records together. Wayne and Chris. Now, people are saying in the chat, and they brought up some things about, okay, yeah. They might have a lot of ones, but I'm thinking about big records together. Um, I really wished I heard more Game and Marsha Ambrosius because they really made good music together. Like Game and
Well,
Marsha
all right,
Ambrosius.
let's talk about the best record, right? Well, all of the records that Jay and Beyonce put together, what's the best record? And let's put that up against some of the other great collaborations and see what that looks like.
Okay, I mean, I think his verse hurt them too on Upgrade You. I think that was his verse on there was dope.
Hmm.
Upgrade You, that record was a dope record. The one that started it all for the biggest records between them and collaborating was Crazy in Love. You got '03 Bonnie and Clyde. You got Deja Vu. Drunken Love, which is probably one of the fan favorite, Drunken Love. Um, On the Run Part 2. I know a lot of women love that record. On the Run Part 2. Um, That's How You Like It. A lot of ladies love that record too. I think that was a Beyonce record.
Yeah, I never
When
liked
you hear
that
that
one.
song, you know it. When you hear that, you know it. You probably don't know
You know,
nobody
I'm
no
gonna
more.
be honest. I've never been big on their collabos like that because I feel like Jay really tones himself down for the most part. I think my favorite ones, I think Drunken Love is probably the best collaboration. I could put it in the chat. I mean, in the poll or whatever. But most people say Upgrade You is their best collaboration. I've heard
Oh, that
Upgrade You.
was just the
Uh,
beat, that Swiss production, the way went into that verse. The video was dope for it too. I mean, yeah.
all right, I'll put it in the poll real quick. What's the best song here? All right, I'm gonna put Drunken Love. Now I'm gonna put Upgrade You first. I'll put Crazy in Love and Drunken Love.
No,
And
Drunken Love
Drunken
is
Love.
better than Crazy in Love to me. But yeah, that's the one that set it off for them. That's their
Yeah,
first
yeah,
big
but
record.
you know, we gotta put that in the poll.
I put
Like,
it
you
in
know what I'm saying? All right. Let me get to the super chat, man. I think we got a $20 super chat here. Michael Williams showing love. He says, going by their first two albums, was Big a better storyteller than Nas? One Love, I Gave You Power, Setup, Shootouts, versus Give Me the Loot, Warning, Suicidal Thoughts, Somebody Gotta Die, Niggas Bleed, I Got a Story to Tell. Oh, man. Man. That's tough because you know what? I will give the edge to Big because I feel like he had more stories on his debut than Nas had on his debut. But I do feel like Nas caught him on It Was Written. But you could tell they were kind of responses to one another. But if we're going by the first two albums, I'm going to give Big the edge because, again, on the first album, Big has Warning. He has not Bonnie and Clyde, but Me and My Bitch. He has Give Me the Loot. He has yeah, he got stories on the first album, whereas Nas on the first album kind of just has One Love. So yeah, I'll give Big the edge on that one.
I mean, I thought Illmatic was a full like that. That was actually symbolic of a story, you know, of
Well, it
the way
wasn't
that
him
story.
storytelling
Man,
in a sense like he was doing on I Gave You Power, Shootout. So just beginning, middle, and end
we're talking
of
about
each.
actual story
Yeah,
songs that's really constructed. Like, yeah,
yeah,
I'll give it the big. I'll give it the
yeah.
big.
I give that one to Big.
And I like the perspective because it's from the perspective of somebody else actually in the streets. You know,
Yeah, and you know, and even Big kind of diversified his stories on Life After Death with I Got a Story to Tell, where he was just talking about some shit, where he was just hanging out and shit. You know what I mean?
That's the die. You
Um,
know what I'm saying? He had a few on those. Even the first record on the album was a
yeah.
story.
Mad Max
Yeah.
in Super Chat says Max B in French Coke Wave is better than Hove and B. Let's see. Right now it looks like Upgrade You and Drunken Love. Upgrade You got 41%, Drunken Love got 38%. I'm gonna let this get to 50 votes and then we'll put, these records up against others. But I don't know, man. I think Meth and Mary probably have the greatest hip hop and R&B collab, but when you think about it, Mary collabs great with everybody. Like she got great records with everybody. She might be the queen of that. But right now, I mean, where do we put, Kenny and SZA in the mix of all of these things?
They got more to go. I mean, because really one of my favorite SZA collabs don't even have Kendrick on it, and it was Travis Scott, Love Galore. You know, but they do. Kenny and her have some dope joints. I like the 30 for 30. I did like Babylon. You know, I like what they did on Luther. Um, I like Gloria. So, they right now, if they want to say collabs, yeah, I mean that's non-debatable. We don't have nobody else that's R&B and hip hop that's collaborating like consistently like that together. So yeah, I guess they hold that title for that right now. But when we're talking about like compared to a lot of these one-offs that could even be mentioned, or even a series of these ones that I've mentioned earlier. I don't it it doesn't go better than those, but they're making headway for that right now, you know. But there's a lot of great R&B hip hop collabs, you know. Oh yeah, and I can't forget All the Stars on the Black Panther soundtrack. I mean, I was like the lead joint when the movie went off. So
That's
like
true.
that was a big record too. I like the sound of that record. That record, the sound,
Yeah,
like the sonic
I
sample.
agree. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says CeeLo is the best collaborators. Tears of Joy. It's my favorite Rick Ross song
I
because of
like
what
that song.
CeeLo did to it. His hook makes every song better. I'm not mad with that, man, because you know
I'm not
what?
mad either.
CeeLo is such a diverse collaborator too, because he could do what he did on oh, sorry, I got a little pop up. He could do what he did on Trick Daddy's Joe in the Wind. He can give you a great hook and then come through, hardcore with the Sean John Velour to the floor and just, kill the verse too.
Yo,
CeeLo is a very diverse collaborator for real.
I got a question. Do you
Yeah.
think that because hip hop is becoming more melodic and you have these hybrid of rapper singer type dudes, that's why we don't really get one-off records so often, and that's why it's so easy to propel these collabs like a Kendrick and SZA so often now?
Yeah, I was just gonna say something to this effect. Stefan Young with the super chat says my favorite is Busta and Janet. Yeah, okay.
Who
I,
was
I
it?
was gonna say something to this effect. I think there's a huge opportunity right now for us to get, some R&B and hip hop collaborators. And I'm talking about where, I know a lot of the rappers are doing the melodic thing, which is cool, and a lot of the singers are doing the almost the rapping thing to a certain degree, but it was a beauty in those collabs where people were able to live in their own world and make these great songs. Like Mary didn't have to try to rap at all on You're All I Need.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like Mariah Carey didn't have to try to rap at all on on Heartbreaker with Jay. Like he just came in and killed his verse. And it was cool when she did what she did on Breakdown, but I think that's more of that was a groundbreaking moment that we didn't realize was a groundbreaking
That's a big
moment. I
record.
think the R&B artists start flowing after that. I mean, that's when you start getting, Destiny's Child with Bugaboo. It's not, huh? You be texting me and all that stuff. And I think Breakdown kind of started a little bit of that. But I do think that moving forward, that kind of hurt R&B a little bit. I think hip hop has helped R&B in certain ways, but overall, I think hip hop has hindered R&B. I think
I
that
actually think it's the other way around. I
you
think that
think so?
R&B hip hop in a lot of ways. Because if not, we'll be getting just a bunch of street records and a bunch, you know what I'm saying? So when R&B artists start collabing with hip hop, I think that start making better versatility within hip hop. You know, when we
No,
get those
I think R&B definitely helped hip hop, but I think in turn it diluted R&B. I think
no, I
that
think
that
that
one
lose
thing that I
R&B.
will, I think that I think Diddy was genius at marrying hip hop and R&B. And we know it's been done before with Uptown and all that, but he did it in a way where I always say he had Mary singing over hip hop beats and had Biggie rhyming over R&B tracks. I think long term that helped hip hop more than it helped R&B. I think it kind of diluted R&B a little bit to try to make records in the same way, in the same formula that hip hop was doing. It took away the musicianship from it, took away a lot of the chords, it took a lot of the real singers out of it.
That's what I'm
Unfortunately.
saying. But that this is what I'm saying. Like to
Mhm.
that sentiment is like R&B helped hip hop. Hip hop killed R&B because hip hop
I agree.
started to become more melodic, and then you have these rapper these artists that teeter between this hip hop sound and rapper stuff. And no shot to Travis. Travis does it a lot. You know, that's kind of his bread and butter. I don't really consider Travis a rapper, but I don't consider him a R&B artist either. But then we
I feel the
have
same
these
way about
other,
Future.
yeah, yeah, exactly, like Future. And then we have other artists that are kind of these hybrids that don't really sing to the capability of the skill of a singer, like a Bryson Tiller or things
Yeah.
like that. And or and they're being thrown into that slot. So I think hip hop is kind of like these artists and stuff like that. It's kind of ruined that in hip hop, and then the support for ruined it for R&B, and the support for R&B is kind of went out the window. There's a lot of great R&B artists that people think fell off that are still putting out music and albums today. And the only way we could probably hear them is if we're directly checking for them, or if you're on Sirius FM listening to one of those channels. There's a lot of great artists that are out there R&B wise and we don't hear. But I think hip hop just ruined R&B alone, but R&B has helped hip hop grow to bigger heights that if not, we'll still be just all street music. It's just all hardcore rap.
I agree. 100%. I agree with that. 100%.
Yeah, that changed when you get a Mary and J, a Meth and Mary. You know, that did a lot for Meth's career. You know what I'm saying? Like that grew his career. That collaboration.
I mean, hip hop started on R&B's back in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, even if you look at Rapper's Delight, you look at, you know, what Curtis Blow was doing, If I Ruled the World originally, like, there was always some R&B elements in early hip hop stuff. And like you said, when hip hop went really street in the 90s, it took R&B to come in and usher that hardcore era of hip hop onto the radio. You know what I'm saying? Like, those Bad Boy records got on the radio because of the R&B spin that it had on it. Biggie got on the radio because of the fact that Juicy had an R&B spin on it. You know what I'm saying? One More Chance remix had an R&B spin on it. Big Papa was basically the Isley Brothers, you know what I mean? So it already had an R&B spin on it. Same thing with what Outkast was doing with Southern Playalistic. Those hooks were all R&B. Like, you needed that R&B element at that moment in hip hop if you were going to be on the radio. Because I remember in '94, I'm like 12 years old and stuff, man. They weren't playing hip hop on the radio out here like that. They played the stuff that had an R&B twist to it, but you would hear that, you know, that rapidy rap stuff late at night. You weren't going to hear that during the day. Tater Tot to the Super Chat says, I Love You remix with Smith & Wesson, Smokes, Meth, and Mary. Wow. That remix was fire, but I wouldn't say all that. Mad Max to the Super Chat says, Drake killed it. He was the one that mixed both genres, like his biology. LOL. Art imitating life. What do you think about the notion that Drake possibly had a hand in killing R&B further? Because he did blur the lines even further.
Yeah, I wouldn't even consider that R&B though, man. Those are like pop type records. And honestly, the joints where he's singing on is not my favorite Drake stuff. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who likes hearing the Drake singing records more than Drake rapping, you know, but I can see how somebody says that, but I don't want to pile on to Drake on that because honestly, there's still opportunities outside of Drake for traditional R&B to still be involved in hip hop in a way, or traditional R&B to still be going. We can't say, oh, R&B is the way it is because of Drake. Like, he's not the sole person for that, you know?
Well, this is what I would say. Not to interrupt you. I will say this. I think that what Drake does or has done when you talk about like a Marvin's Room and things like that, he's kind of put together records and quote unquote R&B records, whatever you want to call it, records that could serve as R&B records, but you don't have to be able to have vocal talent for real to actually pull these off. And like you said, where does that lead the real singers? Where does that leave the people who do have vocal talent? Now the listener, their ear is trained to not have to even have any vocal standards when they're listening to their singers sing. You know what I mean? And I think that between auto-tune and between, you know, Drake giving lackluster vocal performances like that, it does downgrade what an R&B singer, especially a male R&B singer, will bring to the table. And I would say the same thing about Janae Aqua. Like, I mean, she's vocally not strong like that. The records, they're very simplistic as far as like, you know, the way they're put together. And I'm not trying to be disparaging or anything,
It's
but
the
it
vibe
does.
of Janae that people like.
It's more, exactly. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for.
If it wasn't for Janae, we wouldn't
Singing songs
appreciate a
have
Sneaker.
become,
We wouldn't appreciate a Summer,
yeah,
you know?
singing songs have become more of a vibe, whereas now you don't even have to come to the table with this crazy vocal talent, you just vibing, and it's cool. And the bar has been lowered. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of music, not just R&B. People are more concerned with the
No, that's
vibe. I
true.
mean, the kids will tell you that, like the youth will tell you that. It'd be like, man, it's safe if we try to criticize the music. Hey man, this sucks, man. It's a vibe, man. I don't care about what he's talking about. It's vibe. Like they don't
Right.
care about lyrics. It's about a vibe now, And sometimes that vibe can lead you to some great stuff because the vibe is what led me to Travis Scott music because I
Yeah.
like the sound, I like the vibe of it. And then when I got to stuff, my sister put me on Travis Scott stuff early on, and I was like, okay, I rock with this. But like I said, like it does dilute quality in certain genres. It can.
Lord with the super chat says, y'all know Kels is the best. He is actually. Man Max
Yeah.
with the super chats. Man Max with the super chat says Drake influenced Bryson Tiller and Boogie, etc. Dudes who can't sing for real. I think he influenced Brent as well. Hmm.
Mhm.
I
You
you
know,
know I think there's a big opportunity for R&B out there, but I will say this, man. I'm not wowed by the vocal talent that's out there, and I believe it's because that the standard of what the listener expects from their vocalist has lowered. I mean, overall.
that I agree with that, and then I also believe the demand of what's to be heard now has
Yeah,
changed. I don't think today's listener want to hear love ballads. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't appreciate the love ballads and R&B ballads that we grew up on that may have came from a Drew Hill or a Jodeci. We love to see it live and in concert. They'll appreciate it live in concert because that's true talent. You can't deny that. That
right.
hits you. That hits you differently. But when you're searching for music and you just listen to music, I think it's what you're saying, like those vibes that
Yeah.
that means more. Like I don't think those love ballads or even hearing about love these days or whatever is even valued by this. I think that's another thing that killed R&B too. R&B was kind of driven off heartbreak or driven off love, and this like this new game generation like, hey, fuck love, fuck that. Like the R&B stuff is more sexualized, just like the rap stuff now. So it's like there's so many factors that come into that. That is just like the importance of what we loved about R&B is now kind of starting to become an afterthought,
Where
unfortunately.
does Nelly fit in all of this? Because Nelly is somebody who kind of came in with the melodics and the flowing, and I think that he did kind of start a wave that, I guess hasn't really stopped since he, got that wave started. Is he a part of, I guess R&B's demise, if you will, or did he add to?
um who was that again?
Nelly?
Nelly, nah, he didn't kill anything. I mean, because even so, he collabed with a singer. One of his bigger records is with Kelly Rowland. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I mean, he has a melodic way into doing it, but Nelly could really rap too. On his album, he has a mixture of him really rapping and a mixture of him having that melodic type thing. It wasn't like it was later on when he started having songs like Dream or whatever that song was. I can't stand that record. That was later on way in
The
the
country
in
stuff,
the what I'm saying, what?
the country songs.
Nah. It was like this is beyond that. This is way later on in the game when if it all was a dream or something like that. That record, I can't
Oh,
stand
it
it.
was all a dream. I know that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a country. I think
But
that
he
was
has, I think Nelly. I mean, he had a good combination of being melodic in tone or whatever, but he was a rapper. Like we seen Nelly rap. You know what I'm saying? He added to furthering this game in hip hop. We can't take that from him, but I couldn't even consider him a hybrid because like most of his hit records, he's rapping. Even though like records like Hot and Her and stuff like that have that melodic type things, but the bulk of
Mhm.
his catalog is him rapping. You know?
But he kind of raps in notes. It's very interesting. Shout
Yeah,
out to Super Duper
yeah.
said Domino was first. Yeah, Domino. Shout out to Domino. He did do the melodic thing. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. But
Mm.
I mean, Nelly came with the down, down, baby, and y'all know the lyrics. But I think
Yeah.
he came with a flow, and it was something that I think even people like Ja Rule kind of gravitated to when he changed up his style. I think that even even though 50 was clowning Ja Rule, 50 kind of
He
piggybacked
familiarized.
on what Ja
Mhm.
Rule was doing hook wise and melodically. And I think a lot of that stuff in rap, I mean, it was done before Nelly, but Nelly doubled down on it and showed that it could work. I have a lot of respect for Nelly in the fact that he came out of a city that we had never really heard any rappers come out of nationally. He did it with no cosigns. He did it with a producer that no one had ever heard of. And he came out the gate and sold 10 million. I think that is one of the most remarkable things that we've ever witnessed in hip hop. And he did this off of the strength of just straight up hit making. No big names, no you know what I'm saying, no big cosigns, no Dr. Dre, no none of that stuff. No Eminem. He just went out there and did it with his music, and it was very, very impressive. And I think that his melodics and his ability to make those songs commercially viable had everything to do with it.
Yeah, and
But again,
especially
R&B helping hip hop again.
especially coming out of St. Louis at that time. We think about where rap was in the mid, and how many artists that came from the Midwest, and him coming from that region and that time and doing that type of music. Yeah, man, it definitely was monumental in hip hop. Can't take that away.
Well, Nelly has been in the news lately. Nelly, Soldier Boy, Rick Ross, and Snoop Dogg have, performed at the, what was it, the Crypto Ball. It was in conjunction with the inauguration of President Trump, and a
Hell
lot
of
of people
a
have a
transition
lot of
there,
things
Mike.
to say about it. Go ahead.
Hell of a transition there, man. Let me build the man up and shit on him.
Hey
Okay.
man. Well, what are your thoughts on the happenings in that sense?
I think I'll let you go because I think my answer is going to be more winded, Mike. Because I feel like what's
Well,
going on is real irresponsible.
I think that it's an interesting climate we're in right now. I think that things that were a lot more, I guess, detrimental to one's image 8 years ago aren't as detrimental anymore. Um, I think that I remember Chrisette Michelle. She was called on to sing the national anthem at Trump's inauguration in what was that now? Like what 2020? I'm sorry, 2016. Damn, it's been that long. And she was crucified for it. Her career never recovered. And and you could see that everything online, everybody was feeling and thinking one way. And I think that there's been a lot of mixed reaction with, a lot of people's reaction to, Nelly performing and Snoop performing. Even Snoop had a video of himself, years ago clowning somebody for performing at Trump's inauguration or a Trump event or whatever it was.
Mhm.
And now it seems that, I saw Charlemagne on the Breakfast Club this morning saying, well, if you're going to do Nelly like that, then, what do you do in terms of, Barack Obama laughing with Trump? And I saw people in the comment section saying, well, hey, if people are going to boycott Nelly and boycott Snoop, then what about, Facebook? Or what about, Amazon? Because, we've seen Bezos there, or, Zuckerberg there, or whatever. Or we're not driving Teslas anymore. So I don't know, man. I think that Nelly is really doubling down on it. He's really speaking up for himself, which is cool. And I don't think that I think people should be able to express the way they want to express, but I also feel that the fans have the right to feel however they want to feel too. And if he feels like it's worth all of that, then I mean that's on him.
That's what you got, Mike.
I mean I got more, but I'm waiting on you to say something.
So
I got one.
this goes into what I've been saying on multiple episodes when I say hip hop is contradictive and they are very leaning to the side of who they like the most. And I say that because I said on a weekend rhyme, Chrisette Michelle deserves an apology. If we're letting what
She
Snoop
does.
and he does slide, then she's owed an apology. We can't just beat
I
down
agree.
on somebody and then prop up and say it's cool for the other ones and let it slide because we like them more. We can't do that. Think about it. People are ready to cancel Q because he was willing to come to the table with a plan that he wanted to speak with Trump about. They tried to get that man canceled for actually having a plan for Black America. Not even
Right.
tap dancing for him, not performing for him, whatever, but literally having a plan. They're already ready to cancel that man, right? And so when I hear people caping for this type of stuff and feeling like fans or the people that hold these people to the higher regards the most don't deserve to be upset, it's frustrating. And then when you hear Black spectators go on these platforms and cape for these people who are they're gonna be biased of because their own likes of them, I feel that's even more irresponsible. I'm gonna start with Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith sounded dumb. Because he said basically it's cool to sell out. Get your money. So and so. That's basically the sense of what I get from that, right? When I listen to Charlemagne and what he said about it, he deflected. He avoids criticism of people he likes constantly. And to Nelly sounded ignorant on that interview with Willie D. Not only did you not back down and you doubled down on it, but you said some statements that was very ignorant. And I don't operate in whataboutisms. When
Yeah.
there are facts at hand and things that we could literally have that's tangible and things that we could literally go look up and information that is there. And I have this right in front of you and I'm presenting this to you. And your rebuttal is not even something that is of logic and of factual information. When we're talking about real shit and your response is, what about so-and-so? That's called a deflection,
It
you know?
is.
So I
And
don't
I think
operate.
there's enough of that going around though, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't operate on whataboutisms. I operate with this type of stuff that I have to take seriously and be responsible for. Because as a Black man and these being Black artists, and we know this guy that they're going there to support, you have to be responsible in how you talk about these type of things. So on that same stage, well, the platform with Willie, he says basically, people call Trump a white supremacist. Tell me or show me why he's a white supremacist. I have a list right in front of me of ways I could tell you how he's either associated or damn near one. You know, he ran down things on the other side or things that other presidents have done, or such as Biden or whatever, to try to get his point off. But he's very ignorant in the things that has been done by that man that has been a form of suppression of Black people. I can run down that list. Trump signed 3 executive orders in 2017 to fight crime, gangs, and drugs, restore law and order, and support the dedicated men and women of law enforcement. Who do you think that affected most? Who do you think they were targeting gang and drug
Let
wise?
me play devil's advocate here, though. Like, what are the actual numbers of that? Because we actually do have, data that points to the fact that, the crime bill, the 94 crime bill, what that did do to Black American or just the Black population in America. So, I mean, do we have numbers on what any of those executive orders actually,
All right.
transpired in the Black
So
community?
let me kick it to you like this with straight facts, right? There's no secret that when we're talking about this criminal justice system, that more Black people or people of color, that which we could add Hispanics in there, are arrested 2 times more and prosecuted to the highest extent of the law for harsher crimes more than a
Of course,
white man that commits those same crimes, right?
of course.
So whether it's the crime bill or this one that's more current, this executive order that he signed in 2017, those both targeted things that affects us as Black men, right? But
Right.
that's what I'm saying. The whataboutism. When I name a fact that is more recent, and I'm talking about this guy and this guy specifically as a rebuttal to what Nelly's saying, and I'm giving the facts, we deviate to the other side. We deviate to what about so and so? No, you said if
Well,
this
no,
guy,
I wasn't doing a whataboutism. I was
me
just
how it is.
actually asking for the data because everyone has the data of what the crime bill did, and I was just using that as an
Yeah, I mean
example.
both of them are egregious and have
You know,
and have targeted more so black males in the criminal justice system more than anything. You know what I'm saying? This is just facts. Um, he's not a white supremacist, right? Nelly says, but I'm gonna reiterate, there's things he put into place that has directly affected black people and suppressed black people in a way.
right.
Suppressing such as things that they put together to suppress voters' rights, which mainly affects us as black people. Voter ID things that they did in Texas, the things that were happening in Georgia, those things were impacting us, right?
Well,
Or let's
some would argue that those were things that impacted, more immigrant populations as opposed to black populations. Because I mean, I
I
don't.
think it
I mean, because
impacted
I don't
people
know.
of
They've
color.
done many interviews and many, you know, I don't want to say interviews, but just testing out and just speaking to people out in the streets. Like most black folks got their ID. Like if you gotta cash a check, you gotta get an ID. Even if you gotta go get a swisher or whatever, you gotta have your ID. You know what I'm saying? Like go get
Mike,
some drink or whatever, you gotta have an
you
ID.
want to know
And
the
so many
lovely thing
people
about
feel that those
the
those
lovely
uh,
thing about
initiatives were more targeted towards
you
immigrants.
you want to know what is beautiful and so egregious about this thing we consider um to this point of white supremacy. It doesn't just affect black people. White supremacy affects everybody of color. So when I say these things, when you say it affect immigrants, that still feeds into a point of white supremacy because you're still suppressing people of color.
Well,
You're
there are
still
people who are immigrants
Latinos
that
are still people of
identify as
color. Black people are not only the same people of color. There's other races and other people that come from many other places that are still people of color. White supremacy is just not about suppressing black people.
understood. But and there again, I'm just playing devil's advocate out here, and there are many voices out here that speak to these notions. But many of the people who are identifying or group or being grouped in with people of color, many of them identify as white on the census. Many of those Hispanics, I mean, Fat Joe being one of them.
Voter suppression did not affect people of color the most, then why was this the argument, bro? If voter suppression affected white people just as much, why wasn't white people the people that were crying out about this?
I think the people that were crying out about this were, more, the Democratic side of things. And again, the record number of black voters voted once again, and well, not this past election, but the previous one.
The
And I
fact
think
that
that,
voter suppression hurts people of color and people in those that comes from those neighborhoods about that. It's facts, bro. Voter
well, no.
suppression.
I think that I remember again. I remember, Obama's elections campaign first two times, like everybody was energized. People went out there and and supported. I think that all of those things can be going on, and I agree that they can be going on. But I do think that there is a notion where many of the people in the black voting bloc feel left out of the process by a party that they've supported, endlessly for decades. And I do think that there was a lack of energy in this campaign, and they were put in a tough spot. I mean, they had to go out there and, I hate to say it like this, but it is what it is. They had to throw a candidate out there, with just a few weeks before the election, which really is tough to do on any level, right? And I just don't think that they did the things to galvanize, that level of support. I think that even when you had the opportunities like out
Mhm.
here in Atlanta, bringing Megan Thee Stallion out to perform. I mean, I get the notion, but there are better ways to get people to buy into your candidate, right? And I also think that there was a big misstep when Cardi B was brought on stage and couldn't read the teleprompter. I think that
We getting
there's so
away
many.
from the point at
No, no,
hand,
no,
Mike.
no. I'm getting to the point. I'm getting to the point. I think that there were, many people who could have spoken, intelligently about the candidate and about the issues and really get people to buy into that campaign. And I think a lot of those things slipped through the cracks. And I think a lot of those things contributed to the lack of support. And yeah, and here we are. Oh, Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, man, if I ever see Chuck D, Public Enemy, perform and Fight the Power at the White House for Donald Trump, I'm canceling hip hop forever. But I'm just saying all that to say, I think there are a variety of reasons why, this has happened. You know what I'm saying? And I think that on the right, there needs to be some, I'm sorry, on the left, there needs to be some accountability to say, you know what, just like any, and I'm not trying to look at this as a sport, but like, you know what, let's go back and look at the tape and see some things that we could have done better. You know what I'm saying? And why aren't we able to galvanize a collective that we've been able to galvanize, easily over the past couple of decades? Like, what did we not do? Why are people not really drawing to these candidates? Why aren't we listening to the people enough where we're actually running people that folks really want to run? I mean, they did this with Bernie Sanders a few times. Like, the people wanted Bernie, and they didn't run him. You know what I mean?
You see what you're doing?
I'm not doing anything.
I get
I'm
the
holding.
facts.
I'm holding one side
We're
accountable.
deviating from what this main thing is, or what
Okay, well,
we're
what's the main thing? Let's get back to
right?
the main thing.
We said Nelly said he's not a white, and then again, you're in Atlanta, right? I was,
Mhm.
from my knowledge of me knowing things of back then, I think that voter suppression thing has affected counties within Georgia that mostly occupied people of color.
I can honestly, I'm just being really honest. I don't know anybody who has, come to me or said anything in any barbershop talk or anything, say, you know what, man, I had issues voting, right? You know what I'm saying? They were able to go in and do their thing.
But getting back to the point I made, this man said Trump's not a white supremacist. If he is, show me proof as to why. So running down the list, these are some things, man. So 2017, and man, he did a lot in his first year. 2017, he got the House and those House Republicans to release a proposal to replace the ACA with a law that would end Medicaid programs as we know it and defund Planned Parenthood. You know who benefits the most off Medicaid? Black folks and people of color that live in those impoverished neighborhoods and those ones that can't afford regular health care. So when you do that things, who does that impact the most? That impacts people's grandmothers, that impacts people's grandfathers, their
Mm-hmm.
aunties, people that live in those things. That affects us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those, man, there's such a long running list, man. Let's think about, man, we had a lot of innocent black men that were killed by the police, man. But I want
Yeah.
to rewind it. Did this same guy put out an ad for those same guys that was convicted of rape as teenagers and had to go through all that, and now they had to fight for to get that story out there so that truth could be forefront? Wasn't that the same guy that put out an ad for them saying that they were guilty and still sticks by that to this day?
I mean, I haven't heard him recant any of
Oh,
that
those
at all.
guys are suing him currently. He did
For
double
that,
down
for that ad or for something else?
for what he did with all of that. He's still being sued on that because they had to wear that stand of people still thinking that they were guilty about that. That was the man that took out that ad and put that in the newspaper. That's before presidency, bro.
Yeah, and that's before he had any level of political power as well.
Doesn't
And
matter.
and if we're going to be honest, if we're going to look at the whole thing as a whole, the people who tried him, tried them, and pushed them to make this false plea, if you will, they were Democrats. I mean, my whole point is like all sides have
So
a lot of
you
blood on
see,
their hands when it
how
comes to these things.
you see how I'm giving these points, and I'm not caping for Kamala. I'm not caping for Biden. I'm not caping for the Dems. I'm
It's
strictly
all
telling
that.
you the facts at hand of things that this guy has done that has impacted people of color, right? So let's start about that same year. The Department of Education decided to terminate the opening doors, expanding opportunity grants programs, which helps local districts devise ways to boost socioeconomic diversity within their schools. Who else do you think benefits off that? I'm in Jacksonville,
Again,
Florida.
these are words that, again, like I said, I
These are
think
things that affect people of color, bro.
again, it's people of color as opposed to, and again, this is what the masses would tell you, like the people of color thing and black people. It's a very murky thing. It's like it's a bait and switch many a times. It's like, are we talking about things that are affecting black people, or are we talking about people of color? People of color is anybody. But I see what you're saying. What do
Bro,
you think?
that is going to
That,
affect
but
people like us.
let's move past all of that, and because I agree with what you're saying on to that level, right?
I'm
But
just answering Nelly's question.
no. I understand. I understand you answering Nelly's question. But let's just say this. I think that when we look at executive orders and we look at the things that have been passed from the highest office, it's never been in the favor of people of color, black people, whatever you want to call it. But with that being said, even the great Dr. King, we just celebrated this yesterday, he had to sit down with some, high power races and actually had to work some things out. What's the step forward? If a person's won in office, do we sit there and say, you know what, not gonna mingle with them, not gonna meet with them, not gonna do anything, we're just gonna wait the next 4 years? Like, do you think that it's just one of those things where you just don't go, or you protest, or is there power in actually,
So,
trying to develop some level of a relationship with people in powerful positions?
I can answer that question for you. In this case, I can't make excuses for them because everything points to me that they did it for the money. Um, when you have Nelly that gets into an interview and he say things like, "I didn't do it for the money. I did it because it's the highest honor. I did it if our military can get out there and fight for them and don't matter who's in there or whatever, then I can go perform
Yeah,
for them." Are you comparing yourself to somebody who has an obligation and sworn in duty to do it no matter who's in presidency that are giving those orders? Or
I think
over
he's.
you having an
I
option
think
of you performing or not? Is that what you're saying to me, Nelly?
I think he's looking at it as as a proud American or a free American and respecting the
That sounds like
office.
bullshit.
Hold on, let me hear. Black Wealth and Power, the super chat
The
says,
military as
let's
well.
be honest. He said, let's be honest. Our people aren't organized enough to cancel anyone. Most of us will forget about this mid-March. Our people are disorganized and apathetic.
So,
Huh.
I mean, and like I said, I still have a long list of things that could answer Nelly's question. Even leading up to 2020 and leading up to 2017 in Charlottesville, when he told those people out there that were a part of those white supremacist groups that they're fine people, or to stand back and stand by, or let's talk about the David Duke controversy of, you told that man in 91 he was a bigot and a racist and all that, and you dissociated with him when he was running for president and running for governor in 91 in Louisiana, and then that guy came out and praised you with a lot of other hate groups and put you up there, and when they asked you about that on CNN, you said you don't know who that is, you never heard of him. You never heard of a
Mhm.
guy that you called a racist and a bigot and all that when he was running for governor in Louisiana, but you don't know
He
him now.
he didn't know who Lil John was either. He was on the apprentice.
So if we're gonna sit here and say that he's not a white supremacist, then he doesn't denounce white supremacy support either. So a lot of things that's coming around here sound like, if you walk like a duck, you kind of talk like a duck, and maybe you're a duck. You walk like a duck, talk
what,
like a duck, maybe you're a duck.
what I got
So
from what
if
Nelly
you're
said,
not if you're not one if you're not a supremacist, a white supremacist, then you damn near don't have an issue with associating with them or denouncing them when you have plenty of chances to do so.
Lord with the super chat says, Public Enemy Ben kissed the ring. That's why Griff left the group. Um, I think that where Nelly was coming from what I heard in his exchange with Willie D, I think that he feels that all of those titles and tags that were put on President Trump as far as being a white supremacist and racist, he felt that those same things could be said about, President Biden. He mentioned when Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And of course, he mentioned, the 94 crime bill, Biden's law, and what that did to disproportionately incarcerate, black folks in America, and the spike that gave. I think that, bottom line, where we're at and why I mentioned all those things earlier, I think that we're in the age of information. There's a lot of information out there. And I think what has happened is both sides have been exposed for not really doing the best by black folks. Now, one side could care less about the vote of black folks, and the other side needs the vote of black folks. And I think what has happened is out of a sense of protest to a certain extent, I think many black folks are just done with the Democratic Party. And I think the Democratic Party has to put in the work to actually get that voting bloc back. And unfortunately, when there were opportunities to do that, again, you got Cardi B on stage, you're reading the teleprompter, and you got Quavo out here speaking to us. And I think that some people see that as insulting. And I think they got to put in the work to get that voter block back and get that voter base back and get that energy back. I remember what the energy was like in 2008 when Obama was running, even when Obama was running for re-election in 2012. And that energy is just not the same. And I think that they just haven't listened to the people. Now, the Republican Party does what they do, and they're really running off of, some negative energy to a certain extent and to many extents, but they're actually listening to their base to a certain extent. And I think that the Democratic Party hasn't really listened to their base and a big voter block, and they got to get back to that. And I think just, pointing at the other guy and saying, I'm not as bad as he is, just isn't good enough for people anymore, unfortunately.
So I'm going to be honest here. I can agree with the extent of Democrats being out of touch. I can agree with both sides using black votes. Both sides. I agree that one side kind of panders to it because they've been dependent off it for a long time. And that's the Democrats. We can't deny that. But what I can't sit here and do is let people that we also were a part of propping up and supporting be the same people that play in our face and act like things that were against us did not exist, and they cape for that. Not once.
Let's be clear here.
Did I speak about any other person but the person now's at hand or why they're being criticized for performing for.
Well, not to interrupt you, but I do want to interject here. Let's be clear. Black celebrities or any celebrity doesn't really have the ability to tell the everyday Black American what's best for them. You don't live that life. You haven't lived that life for a very long time. Yeah, many of these people that we're talking about, these people are 20-something years removed from poverty if they were ever in poverty. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like going back to your old neighborhood that you... Yeah, it's like me going back to my old neighborhood, telling them what their day-to-day is. Like, I ain't been over there in 20 years.
Yeah, but they probably got family members that's still back there, though. They probably got...
They might, but it ain't the same. You ain't living that life. You know what I mean? It's different when you're...
Don't matter if you up there and you high up there or whatever, you know what it is? You still a nigga. That's how you do. No matter what. You be rich, you a nigga in a suit. You still a nigga. At the end of the day,
everybody has their own walk, right? Everybody has their own walk of life and everybody has their own issues. But to sit there and tell the person is actually living it day to day what's best for them on either side, you don't have the ability to do that. You just don't. You don't have...
People are trying to tell them what's best for them. I think people have the right of being upset because you have people that are...
Of course. I ain't talking about on that end. I'm talking about the Nellys, the Beyoncés, whoever. They ain't got the ability to sit there and tell the person that's waking up at 3, 4 in the morning, going to work, 10-hour shift and barely making ends meet. You don't have the ability to tell them what's best for them, what candidate's best for them on either side. You just don't. So at the end of the day, I just think that that whole notion of us even listening to celebrities on that level needs to go out the window. No other group does that. You know what I'm saying? We don't.
Well, you know
They don't
what?
go to their celebrities for their their livelihood. Period.
Okay,
They don't. These
okay.
things don't
So,
concern you. Like, it just don't. Like, there's no way. There's no way that Beyonce, Nelly, or whoever can connect with the everyday black worker in America. Just can't. Even if you
oh,
do have access to a
that's
little bit.
wild, man, because I just remember Jay was instrumental in getting people out to vote for Trump, man. I mean vote for Obama, man.
He was.
Yeah, he was, man. That influence was great.
I
I
think
think
that
I
even
think
even
black
if you talk
entertainers have more influence than what we think, bro.
this is
And
what
they
I
know
will
that
say.
as
This is
well.
what I will say. They can only get you so far, though, Siobhan. I feel like when it came to Obama, whether it was Diddy, Jay, whoever, they got you in the arena so that he could talk to you, and he did the rest of the work. That's what's not being done now. They want the celebrities to cross the finish line for them. And once Jay or Diddy or Oprah, whoever, got us in the viewpoint or the earshot of Obama, and we actually heard him speak, and we heard what he had to do and what he was planning on doing, people were sold. And he did that. People are going to have, these politicians on both sides are going to have to do their own work. You can't rely on celebrities to cross the finish line for you.
So I can agree to that to an extent. And none of us should be holding celebrities to that high of power, even when it comes to politics. I can't stand politics. But one thing I
Yeah.
can say is as a black man, and we want to talk about selling out for the most simplest things in the past, when do we start changing the definition of that now?
Well, that is a
It's
good question.
actually a
I'm glad
sellout.
you mentioned that because I feel like, and I've had this conversation with a good friend of mine, man. Like, I feel like selling out used to really be in the lexicon of hip hop. And since we've gotten into the get the bag era, anything goes. I don't even think that there's a such thing as a sellout in hip hop anymore. You got people doing endorsements for anything. You got people, you know what I'm saying, performing anywhere for anything. It's like, it's kind of like what they've done with the portal and what they've done with the NIL deals. It's like in hip hop, whatever deal you can make, do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one, where's the bar for selling out at this point?
So for me, selling out is when you take favor to something that is not only detrimental to your people, but to the next generation that has to come of your people. And I feel
Okay,
like
so is
you're,
selling
you're
drugs
doing
is
things.
selling out? Is rappers who sold drugs to get to where they're at, is that selling out?
Well, Mike, that is a complex thing. You want to know why? Because we can go down the history of that, right?
Yeah.
We didn't. Us as black people, did we put those drugs in those neighborhoods?
We help to distribute them. But
Did
no,
we
to
did we
answer your
plant those
question,
drugs
no.
in those impoverished neighborhoods, Mike?
No. But
So when you're
again,
in a place,
you
when
needed
you're
a
in a
black
place
face to
of
sell
poverty,
it though.
right? When you're in a
But
place
you
of
needed a,
poverty, right?
go
And
ahead.
there's something here, per usual, as blacks, we make water in the wine. We love to improvise. When we're put in the most complicated, struggling positions, we make a way to survive. When those drugs was pumped in those impoverished neighborhoods, they were thinking that that was going to be there to kill us off. All of us was going to, that was a way to stop the progression of blacks. And what did we
Mhm.
do? We learned how to improvise. We took those drugs that you wanted everybody to OD on and kill away that population of people in those neighborhoods, and we took those and flipped it and made money. Yes, did it cause a detriment to our community? Yes. But what it also did was help a lot of people get out of those communities. And I know there's survivor's remorse. I know there's people that know what they were doing was wrong, but they still had mouths to feed. And
Exactly.
technically, they shouldn't even been put in those situations, but because the powers that may be that were a part of the white supremacy part of this is the reason why they're in those situations where they even have to do such a thing, right?
Hmm.
So before we start talking like that, we also have to realize the conditions that were placed in either for them to even have to do such a thing, Mike.
I agree with that. And again, I'm not even talking down on that. I'm just saying by definition. I mean, even if you're put in a situation where your back is against the wall, you do what you got to do, and people do what they got to do. That's just human nature. And that's all races, colors, creed, whatever. But that still is selling out. You know what I mean? Even if you do repent from that and you move forward and do better things. So you're saying that in a current era, if we're calling somebody a sellout, it has to be them doing something that I guess they didn't have to do.
No, I think it's doing something that goes absolutely against your people's interest and progression and
Right.
their interests of betterment of progression of your people. I mean, there's so many people that we call sellouts for so many reasons, and for these people to be thrown a bone and be excused because they're not idols of blah 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 and all of that, it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, bro. Like, we can't make excuses for them. What they did was absolutely for the money. I don't care how they cut it. Snoop didn't need that money. Nelly probably need the money. I don't know. But Snoop didn't need that money. And then some people that's not even getting flack of it, that's not mentioned, we still fail to hear from him. Rick Ross. Soulja Boy spoke out. Soulja Boy
Yeah.
went, these people
Well,
didn't like.
Soldier Boy made it clear that he did it for the money.
Yeah,
Now,
so like it's clear that it was done for the money. So if that's the case, then I just tell me a nigga can be bought. You know
well,
what?
I
Maybe
mean,
he
again,
is a
I
slave
think
too.
that, and I know people in the chat think that I'm making a false comparison, but my whole point is when you're looking at an industry, and I'm not sitting here knocking anybody who had to do whatever they had to do to get up out of their situation, but you better understand that these companies that are signing on these artists who went out there and had that kind of past and really didn't have that survivor's remorse for it, because some do and some didn't. They see somebody who's willing to, you know what I'm saying, take down their people if they need to, whatever they need to do for a buck. And of course, the industry sees those things and they're looking at your character moving forward and they're like, oh, like you said, this person could be bought. Now, not everybody can, but when when that's your reputation and you put it out there like that, then yeah, they're like, hey, maybe this person can be bought. And I think that we're just seeing different stages of this. And again, hip hop is in an era now where it's like, get the bag, get the bag, get the bag. No one has said anything about what the parameters of selling out are in this era. Back in the day, like doing a certain
Bro, they
commercial.
caught
So,
Mary J. Blige a sellout for doing a commercial for, what was it, McDonald's or something like that years ago. We
yeah,
taught people sellouts for less.
Burger
So
King.
if this is not one of the highest ways of being a sellout, you're literally tap dancing for these niggas. You're their entertainment. When I seen that tweet from Elon and it shows the comparison of Snoop in 2017 and him performing there, and his comment is making a mockery of that by saying, "Oh man, he definitely changed the vibe with his tune or whatever with the laughing emojis." He's laughing at y'all. He's laughing at you. That tweet's still up, by the way. That's not fake. That's on Elon's X page. You can go check that out. He's making a mockery of Snoop.
Well, I would like to hear what Snoop has to say about that. You know what I mean? I think that
He's probably gonna say some shit like he wasn't there for Trump. He was probably there for something else or some shit like that. Like, because at the end of the day, I could respect Soulja Boy for saying I did it for the money, but for that same reason is why I can't respect you either, because
what
I can't stand on the line and support somebody that I know are making conscious efforts of doing things that go against people of color. You know what I'm saying?
well
I
I
have
know
my thing.
that
There's
I
too
know
many
that
things that go against
Snoop.
that to why I can't support that.
Well, Michael Harris, who's the founder of Death Row Records, he was pardoned by Trump right before Trump got out of office in 2020, and he was very vocal during Trump's campaign that Trump was the one that pardoned him, and I do think that him being free has something to do with the fact that Snoop was able to acquire Death Row Records, the label that started his
He
career.
owned
So
that.
maybe that
He
could be
owned
part of
that.
how maybe
That
that
time.
could be part of why, excuse me, he's changed his tune a little bit in regards to Trump. Because I
Go
remember,
see.
somebody would
Go
ask him about Trump, he would blow up and just,
when you go do the research. Go see who Snoop acquired Death Row from.
what, Mattel? But I do think that, the fact that he acquired it as soon as, Michael was pardoned, I think that had something to do with it. It
They
had
have
to have
nothing
something.
relation. They have no relation. Snoop literally, you can go look
Mm.
at him on YouTube. Snoop literally tells the story about how he acquired Death Row. He just did an interview with Bootleg Kev around time where he dropped the album. He speaked about that on there too. Next.
So you don't think that there's any level of appreciation for the fact that he has pardoned Michael Harris because Snoop's cool with him.
Oh, we're supposed to. Ooh, he pardoned some niggas. He's for us. That's what we're supposed to
I
do.
mean, I'm just saying, like,
It's the
if
same. I have
somebody,
black friends. I have black friends. Yeah, they're
and
so great.
he's
Yeah,
been
black.
trying. No, I mean, and he's
Come
been
on, bro.
trying to get
Come on,
he's
bro.
been trying to get pardoned for some time. So
Black.
I'm just being real here.
Black
Like,
people as props. He's used black people as props, and it make us when he does stuff like that, it makes the ignorant think that he does shit that he gives a fuck about us about, and that's not the
well,
case.
listen. No
He also
politician.
pardoned the member. He also
No,
pardoned the leader of the
let's
Proud
stop that.
Boys. He
No
also
politician is
he
doing
also
something.
pardoned the Capital Six riders. I mean the Capital Riders too,
Yeah, of course,
and members
all
of the Proud
political
Boys
moves.
and the Oath and all that stuff that they have that's in those hate groups. He also pardoned them too. So what does that
Yeah,
say?
I'm just telling you that he pardoned somebody who was very close to Snoop, and that probably has something to do with how he changed his tune. And it seems like, and again, I don't know, it seems like, I know Michael said that he's been trying to get pardoned for a long time. This could have been something that Snoop asked for directly from the president, and the president at the time, obliged, and that probably changed his whole perception. I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's just a real um, people person interaction. I mean, and I'm sure that he's asked other administrations to do so, and they didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody comes to somebody and they actually get something done for them that they've been trying to get done for a while for somebody that's close to them, then I could see how that drastic change happened in that way. I'm just saying.
And
I mean, it's just real life. And again, and
I
as
can't
far as
support
to
it
your point
as a black
about the
man. I can't do it.
intentions, and as far as your point to the intentions, none of these politicians are doing anything, just to do it. You know what I mean? Just to be a good person. They're doing it all for political moves. That's why it's politics.
I can't stand politicians, and I know there's
Yeah.
been things done on
And
both
that's why
sides.
you can't, because it's nothing genuine about it.
But this goes deeper than just politicians to me, because the same reason why people love Trump is the same thing of to this point of politicians. He's not your traditional politician. We can't hold him to the standard of regular politicians, according to you guys, because he's not a politician, guys. He's for us. He's for this. Who's that us? Who's that us that he's there for? Is it us?
I
So
don't
when
think,
we're talking about him as a person and the people that support that, me as a black man cannot support that. He
I
doesn't resonate
understand.
to anything that benefit me. Not in those 4 years he was in there. He hasn't done anything that resonated or that I benefited from, and I don't see that coming here from this point on. He showed us who he was.
Do
I
you feel
believe
like
it.
that about do you feel like that about any politician though? Because
Uh,
I
I
think, to
voted.
be honest,
You want to know something? I voted for the other side because they actually did do things that impacted me in a beneficial way,
mhm.
and I have a list of that as well. Because I vote to things that's within my interest of me and what's best for me, my family, and my loved ones. Those executive orders that guy just signed, I have loved ones that are working in those federal agencies that are walking on eggshells because they don't know downsizing the federal agencies will cause them to possibly be laid off. Those are things that impact me. So just because some people feel like those things don't impact them, they cannot give a fuck about. But like his 4 years, he did things that impact people of color and impacted us. And his first day already, he has already done things that are already impacting things that are for people that are close to me, man. So I'm just gonna sit here and say, politicians to me are all a piece of shit. But when there's some things that I could resonate to and relate to me on, and that could make life better for me and my loved ones, I could vote to that. I can get with that. That's not me propping them up. That's me saying, hey, those are things that I could benefit from. Now, I need everybody that's black to tell me what is something they resonate and that they could benefit from voting for him.
Amar with the super chat
or
says,
supporting him.
it's a peace, Savon. That's a terrible argument. Drugs destroy our communities, period. Yes, we didn't bring the drugs over, but we still kill our own and
Hey man,
contributed to the downfall. So what you saying?
yeah, it did, man. But that talks about somebody that has no relation to anybody in the hood. Thank you for that, though. Appreciate the super chat.
But I mean, everything the drugs bring, it's not just the drugs itself, it's the actual violence that comes along with it too. You know what I'm saying? And so
So,
things
Mike,
that
if black
those are
people were given
things that bring
those
us
same
trepidation.
opportunities, if
Go
black
ahead.
people were given those same opportunities that those other people were given, then we probably would never even venture onto that path.
Well, I agree with that. And you know what? And what I would say in response to that, I think that both political parties are responsible. I mean, if not equally, very, very close to all of those things that transpired and those things that you're talking about.
I agree. Both parties have contributed.
Why are we the poorest? Why do we sit here and have to need, all of these health benefits? Why are we at the bottom economically? Why are these things being dumped in our communities? You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, many of these, especially in these big urban conglomerates, these are democratically ran cities, and these are things that could have actually been turned another way, but they weren't, because I mean, we've been shitting on by everybody, unfortunately. And what's happened is people are tired of one party acting like they're the heroes and the other one's acting like the villains. And people are saying, you know what, kind of like what you're saying, like, you know what, I'm checking out of the whole process. And that's the work that needs to be done, especially by the left. They got to get the people back, because with the people not believing in either side, the right's going to win every time. It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? And it's on the left to either change some of the things that they're doing, like you said, get in tune and not be as out of touch. I feel like, honestly, I feel like they're out of touch by on purpose. You know what I mean? I don't even feel like they're trying to be in touch. That's how
Yeah,
it feels.
you know what? You know what's even worse to that? I feel the same way about ignorance, willful ignorance. There's a lot of people who know if we work together as a black society, we could progress further, even with those barriers that's placed in front of us. That every time we set up
Of
something,
course.
it'll come under our feet every time. But we know that. But we still have people that will support something that's not beneficial and hold us back just for a dollar. Like I said, I don't believe for one bit that there wasn't ever in history black overseers or black slaves. I think that's something that happened as well. So
Of course.
um there's always somebody that could be bought. There's always somebody for everybody that you have here that could break out of situations if you work together as black people. There's probably going to be a few of those that's not going to go with the plan,
Well,
and
okay,
that's
this
the
is my
problem,
thing,
bro.
and this is why I brought up, what I'm saying, the drug dealing and things like that. Is is it more of a morality thing where you're saying, you know what, I'm I'm gonna not do my people like that? Or is it one of those things where it's like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. It might be detrimental to my people, but I'm gonna do something, that's gonna look out for my people too. You know what I mean?
When you
Is it
tell
one of
somebody
those?
that's living in the worst situation, the worst conditions possible, the worst environment possible, not knowing how they're gonna eat, not knowing how, like, they don't even
Yeah,
have beds to sleep on for some of these people. They're sharing beds. They're five to a bed, and just the most egregious situations you could put them in, and you try to tell them hustling out of a sense of desperation. Do you think that they're thinking about hurting their people? Then no, they're thinking about how they're gonna get their next meal and supporting their
it's
people.
survival.
It's
It's
survival.
survival. But again, as you alluded to with the black overseers during slavery, do you not feel like they felt that level of sense too? I mean, it could be a excuse made,
You know what it
all.
was? No, it's not an excuse, mate, because there was a level of physical fear and death that was put into him.
Exactly.
There was also mental of divide and conquer that was placed in that as well. That runs
Yeah.
deeper than just this.
Yeah.
But it runs so deep that it's still something that we are experiencing today, and people are still not understanding that.
I think that the as far as like the division, I think people are afraid of agents. I think let's look at the Black Panther Party, for instance. I think it was an incredible idea. It was an incredible initiative, right? But their Achilles heel was they let everybody in and they didn't vet everyone properly. So they had agents all over the place. You know what I mean? And I think that when it comes to even delineation and things of that nature, I think that people are trying to slim down the collective so that they don't have people that have dual allegiances and ulterior motives, hearing information and down with certain camps. And I think that that is another thing that Black folks are very, have their antennas up a lot on these days because many people feel like, the candidates that they brought to them were a little agenty. Even that guy that out of Tennessee, you remember those guys that the guy with the afro or whatnot. People are like, where did he come from? Who, is this individual? And it feels like when the mainstream brings you someone and tells you to follow this person, got to be a little bit wary. But again, that goes along with celebrity as well. Because honestly, who makes these celebrities? Who brings the celebrities to us for us to support?
What are you saying, Mike?
I'm just saying that when you're talking about these people that we're being told to follow or or listen to, even when it comes to elections and campaigns, or even people feel a certain way about Nelly doing what he did, like where did these individuals come from? We don't raise our own candidates, and for the most part, even in this era, we don't really raise our own celebrities anymore. You know what I mean? Celebrities used to have to come through the Black community, whether that be, on the Apollo stage or whether that be on, Def Comedy Jam or whatever. But that's not even the case anymore.
So I'm gonna say it like this: when you have things like this that happen, I'm not mad at the people that are angry because these are the same people that bought your tickets to go to your shows, that bought your merch, that
Yeah.
supported your music through all these years, who really, really value you guys as their artists. And then you turn around and you do things that are in support of people that are not for them and not for your own creed of color. So I think they really do have a lot to answer for when it comes to that, whether you don't think they do or not. They do. And the pushback in the things they have said is not helping their case. So whatever happens to them, happens to them. I can't cape for that. I can't cape for that man. I can't. Me as a Black man, I just can't do it, bro.
I
There's too
think
many
I
things.
think where I feel you, but I think where the disconnect is now, I think that many people in the Black community specifically feel like the Democratic Party is just as bad, whether you agree with that or not. I think that's the sting that makes this different than it would have been in 2017. We're talking about Cassette Michelle. We're talking about this. I think the difference in the sting is the fact that the Democratic Party was seen in a much better light in 2017 by the Black community as a whole than they are in 2025.
No,
Now,
I
not
think the
saying that
thing
the Black
is what this guy
rocking
has
with
done. I think
not
the
saying that
sting
the
is
Black community is rocking with Trump in that way, but I'm just saying I think that the loss of support from the Democratic Party and the Black community, that disconnect, I think that it has softened the blow for these. I don't think they're gonna really. I don't think their career is gonna go to the way that Chrisette Michelle's career did,
hey, the
because I think
you
times are just different.
you want to know something, Mike? Where they
Hmm.
performed, there was no Democrats there. Those that wasn't for Democrats. They
Yeah,
did that as an option. They did that as an option. Unlike Nelly's comment when he tried to compare it to the military that have obligations to those duties that they're sworn in to do, no matter who's in the commander in chief. You had an option, Nelly. You wasn't obligated to go do that. You had an option. You had a chance to really do a conscious. That's what makes it even worse. You had time to really make a conscious decision and think about it before you did it, and that's what you chose to do. So live
I
with
think
that.
what it is. and and we heard Snoop in his own words speak on what the climate was like in 2017, right? I think that those guys wouldn't have even dared to do that in 2017 because of what the climate was like. And I think now in 2025, the way that the black community, many people in the black community view the Democratic Party, they're like, well, it's not as trepidatious as it was in 2017 when Kanye went into Trump Towers and all that and got caught, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think that they felt safe enough to do that. And I think that the reason why they felt that safe is the fact that the Democratic Party has lost a lot of black support, honestly.
Okay. So
That's just. I think that's what
again,
they're feeling
so
because
again,
again, we heard Snoop saying his own words in 2017.
yeah. So that's even more of a reason
Yeah.
why I'm like, yeah, we have to call a spade, man. We have to call a spade, and that sounds silly. It sounds just as silly as me hearing that people voted for this guy just because what they feel about because I don't for reasons that don't even impact them. You know what I'm saying? Like reasons that don't impact their people. You know what I'm saying? Just pure sexism and homophobia. You know what I'm saying? That fueled a lot of people to vote for Trump. But that's neither here or there. The fact of the matter is these people have a reason to be angry at what these guys did because they didn't have to do it. And by you doing this, that showed me that you are only not willing to understand your base of people that supports you and how they feel and how that may look, but you guys are being walking contradictions and hypocrites as well by doing that as well, especially Snoop, because you did speak out in the manner of, oh, somebody supports and perform, you the first one to do it, then you a jigaboom, blah, 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 and you turn around and do it. So what does that say about you? But you can't
I,
make excuses. All I'm hearing is excuses. That's what
I
I'm
think what
hearing.
that says is that he feels the climate changed. Because I
No,
think that
nothing
under any
changed.
other
This guy hasn't
circumstance.
changed. He's the same person who he was when he wasn't president the first 4 years. What has
Well, like
changed?
I said, I think the climate changed in a sense where the way that the black community views the Democratic Party, and
But that no,
that
the
I
way that
think
they
that
use the
change
Democratic
has
Party makes
made.
you go against your own self-interest.
I think that change. Well, many would feel that both parties go against self interest. So I think that change has made all of
Mm.
those individuals feel comfortable enough to go out there and do that in celebration. Lord with the super chat says the boule has been selling us out since 1900. Interesting points. Um, yeah, man. I just I guess we're just gonna have to see what the blowback is of this. I know Nelly's been one of the ones very vocal. We haven't heard from Snoop yet. Snoop's a big personality. I just don't foresee this negatively affecting any of the parties involved career,
Well,
and I don't think they would make that decision if it would. Unfortunately, yeah.
well, you want to know why? Because for a lot of these people, they don't have much career left. Snoop is an icon. Snoop doesn't have to do music if he doesn't have to no more.
Mhm.
Nobody's checking for Soldier Boy. Nobody's checking for Nelly. Ricky's on that way. He's kind of trending down. It's kind of wild that you do a performance for Trump and then you turn around and you have a performance booked in Sunrise for Big Meech and BMF coming up soon. That's wild. You know what I'm saying? But I digress. But
And the stuff that
unfortunately,
he was saying about Drizzy and all that, yeah.
yeah, fortunately for these guys, it's not like they're up and coming artists. They already cemented themselves in the game for what they have to do, which is even more reason why I could see why you guys wanted to get this check and you don't care about the blowback as much. But if you guys didn't really care, y'all wouldn't be responding the way the
I
way
don't
that
know.
y'all did.
I always feel like these things. I feel like, and maybe this is just conspiracy theory, me, but I always feel like these things are much deeper than a check. I don't think that Quavo went out there for a check per se. I think that there are promises being made that are bigger than a check per se. You know what I mean? We're
God,
talking about we're
honestly,
talking
that's
about the
absolutely
most we're
stupid as
talking
fuck.
about the most influential and powerful office, in the world to some degree. So I think it might be a little bit more than that, but time will just time will tell. We'll have to see, how all of this stuff shapes out. But I don't I remember what the outrage was like when Chrisette Michele went out there, and she went out there and said similar things as Nelly did, and people weren't buying it. And now, like
Actually,
I
what she
said,
said makes more sense than what Nelly said. Nelly said
yeah, yeah,
total,
yeah, yeah, for sure,
and I'm
for
kind of
sure.
disappointed because I like Willie D's like his platform, but I feel like as an interviewer in these days, and I criticize a lot of platforms for this. There's a difference between potting, having a podcast, and conducting an interview. When you conduct an interview, there's a certain level of research, and I think there should be a certain level of fact checking and holding your guests honest for the viewer. I didn't
I
see
agree.
that in that Willie D conversation. He didn't push back. He may ask some questions to combat it, but when Nelly said the things that he did, there was no fact checking or pushback in that. And I think that's very irresponsible with platforms today when you want to get into the space of journalism and not fully doing what comes with conducting the interview on the journalistic side. So I
Well, I
just
think
need
most
people.
people are podcasting and not interviewing. Like we don't have like people ain't out here doing the Barbara Walters, Oprah Winfrey type of work when
Yeah.
it comes to
And
interviewing.
I've
So
done a lot of interviews and I did research for
it's
every
more
single one of
conversations.
those
Yeah.
conversations.
But no,
So
no, no.
whenever,
Saying all that to say though, I just think that what happened to her. I'm not feeling the same. From the I'm not feeling that same climate, right? When she did that and she spoke out and she, gave her side, there wasn't a Stephen A out there defending it. It wasn't a, Charlemagne saying what he was saying. Everybody just kind of left her alone on that island. But the fact that, you know, people aren't as outraged, I'm like, yeah, this is a whole different climate, man. It's a different day.
so I mean, like I said, nothing has changed with this guy. The same guy who he was when he was in office 4 years ago is still the same guy he is now 2.0. Nothing's changed. And I think people need to wake up.
Yeah,
And when it's all said and done, we'll see what history and what side you stand on. But I always say if you don't stand for nothing, then I don't know what to think of you. You must have something to stand on and stand on that
all for
proud.
anything.
Make sure you
Right,
do
right.
stand on something. I also like to say when those guys say certain things and when certain facts are presented or certain conversations are had, I like to also understand that um, when you're making sense in the argument, sometimes, man, that is it does nothing for a person that doesn't want to see the sense. Making sense for a person that want to treat it like wrestling. Don't let that go
Right.
over people's head, man. It goes a long way, man. I
Well,
digress.
all right. Well, I mean, I guess we can kind of ride out on that. I mean, like I said, I don't. We'll see. I'm looking forward to hearing what Snoop has to say. But I think that again, what he said originally was based on what the climate was, and what he's doing now is kind of based on what the climate is too. I think that entertainers are going to go with the climate. They're going to go with what they hear and they feel out there. And yeah, we're just gonna see what the blowback is. But based on the reactions from some people in the media and people online, it's kind of right in line with what I thought it was going to be.
I expected no different. I expected no different. People are reacting how they should. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
people are absolutely reacting how they should. And
yeah.
those guys making excuses for it, hey man, good luck, man. Like I said, you deserve everything that's coming for you, man. And we'll see if people still give a damn about it or whatever. It may just be outrage that happens and people forget about it month after
I
month.
think it
But
will be.
but at the end of the day, people still have a right to be frustrated. And like I said, when in Nelly's case, when you have actual facts that are out there that can combat what your question was and what you were asking, and I think at some point, some people just like to argue just for sake of argument. Like I said, good sense will never trump a good argument. It doesn't.
Yeah, I just think that there's so much dirt on both sides. It's unfortunate that there could even be those arguments made. And I just think years and years of neglect and years of doing things in the dark, on one side, it's just piled up, and to the point where you have your voter base and you have your voting bloc that is questioning what you've ever done, and that's never good. and but
Uh,
that needs to be corrected.
but I like I said, man, I said this in multiple shows. Hip hop integrity and those are no those have never been synonymous. Um,
Never, never.
when the business have came into it, that was put to bed. So, and hip hop is full of contradictions and hypocrisy as well. And even with the people that we hold near and dear as our favorites, just last month our tune on Snoop was totally different. And now look, we in January and see where it's at now. So these guys are not my kings. These guys are not my leaders, but these are people I grew up on and value their music and was my heroes when I was young. Growing up black, some of us didn't have, father figure heroes in there. Some of us looked to hip hop that saved our life. And so some of these people are heroes of some of us. So
Yeah.
that's even more reason why some may be disappointed. But yeah, man, just keeping it a buck and keeping it tall with everybody, like a spade is a spade. They did the tap dancing. They are, deal with the blowback of what that is, and if people give a fuck about it on from there, cool. If nobody don't, cool. But a spade is a spade. They can explain all they want, but it is what it is. And as somebody who's proud and a proud person of being a spectator of the culture and loving hip hop, yeah, I'm disappointed in them.
And this is why, for a long time, entertainers, musicians specifically, never got involved with politics because it's a lose-lose situation for the most part. And in this dark red or dark blue climate, it's really a lose-lose situation. So we'll see how this turns out, man. Man.
In better news, there's some things going on in hip hop. There's some
Yeah,
things going
man.
on in hip hop, man.
All right. Well, what's a hip hop prediction before we get up out of here? What do you think is going to happen? We got any surprises happening in the next couple of months?
Musically, I don't know. I don't understand why we went through a whole year of really not getting artists with some artists, and we're at the top of the year, and I'm not hearing about a lot of them cooking up. That's very interesting and disappointing as well. Um,
Come
I
on,
hope,
Joey.
yeah, I hope it. I got to give it to him. He's the one that's out here rapping.
Yeah,
A lot of these artists are out here being bad bitches. That's what they doing. They out here being Instagram models. That's what they doing. I need them to get back to rapping. That's simple. Make good music. I want to see
that's
what
it.
comes out this year. Um, Again, rap is on trial once again. ASAP Rocky trial about to start up. He didn't take the plea deal. I don't know how that's gonna look for him. That video looks crazy. The lawyer's trying to say it's a prop gun in that video. Don't matter. You use it in a way, whether it's
Yeah,
real or fake. The way that you use that, you play it to the jury. I don't know how that's gonna go. You had a
yeah.
chance to take 180 days and three days of probation. I don't want to see Rocky locked up,
I don't either.
but I probably want to take that deal. He's supposed to be dropping an album this year too.
Yeah,
I would hate to see him go in.
yeah.
But when you have somebody that says that they shot you and they're there to be able to live to testify, it never really works out for the suspect at all.
Mm.
Alleged suspect at all. So I don't know how that's going to play out. Hip hop wise, I like Rocky, so
So, so what
I
he's saying is it was a prop gun.
the lawyer released a statement today saying the gun I was seen in that video, that he's trying to say it was a prop gun that he carried around for protection of some sort. I don't understand that. That's a wild argument to this, but
That
we'll
is
see
a
how
wild argument.
we'll see how it play out. So the trial, like I said, uh he turned down the plea deal today, but yeah.
Mm. Well, and what was the plea deal again? Before we go,
I think I seen it was 3 years of probation and 180 days inside. And I think there was one more, there was something minor onto that as well. But that's the sole thing of what that deal was. 180 days locked up, 3 years probation.
so what's he facing?
He could face 24 years.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, that's a wild argument to make. It's a prop gun that you carry around for protection, and somebody actually got shot. Huh. Allegedly.
Yeah, video, it's a short clip that they sharing where he has the gun, wherever. You can find it on the internet. It's going around. It's public. It's not something that I have an inside scoop on. It's
Yeah.
public. I think that same video has actually been going around for a few years. The trial's actually starting. Like, this story's been out for a minute. To people forgot that he was facing something. You
Yeah, it was a
know,
minute. It's been a minute.
yeah, now with Rihanna, he's been having babies. He's been working on new music. People kind of forgot that this was going on with him.
Yeah.
So this is about the. We gonna see what happens with this. I'm tired of seeing rappers go to jail and being locked
Yeah,
up.
man.
I'm
It's
tired of seeing it, to be
depressing to
honest.
even have to cover these cases in that way. Mad Max
Yeah,
with the super chat said, "Free Rocky, we sliding for him in New York." Well, in that on that note, hit like and subscribe, everybody, man. We appreciate y'all rocking with us. But yeah, we're gonna keep people updated on these cases and things that are going on like that. But I hate talking about it, but got to keep people informed, man.
yeah,
But yeah,
facts.
great
And
conversation today, man.
yeah, if y'all didn't check out the Joey joint, check it out because it is a dope record. Even
Yeah,
though like I said what I said, as far as people responding to him, it doesn't change the fact he put out a dope freestyle. The freestyle is dope. I like the change of beat that Conductor did on it too. So it was dope. It was better than the first one to me. It was way better than the first one in my
Oh yeah,
opinion.
yeah, yeah. I like
But
this one a lot. I
I like
listen, man.
this.
I have very high hopes for Joey. I hope that Joey can tap into, you know, his zenith for like a 10, 11 song stretch. He needs that. The game needs that. And I think that it's wide open for somebody to come through and really, take over the year. And I think he's the perfect person to do it, man. Like I said, he's not super crossover, but he has a big enough base where if he goes out there and makes something great, he can make some things shake. He can get on some festival stages. He can, possibly conjure up a tour or whatever. And now that he got, the Power franchise and all that stuff behind him to a certain degree,
I think that
he's a
helps him.
notable face out there. You know what I'm saying? So this is the time to make your best piece of work for sure.
Yeah, facts. Because you're visible to people. Now you got a new audience because people are seeing you on the show, and that you
Hmm.
didn't die in the last season. They bring you back, as
Yeah.
still a character that's alive. I think that actually helps with his visibility and putting that music out. Who knows? Some of that
And
music could
putting the
probably be
music in the show, possibly. You know what I'm
exactly
saying? Like,
so.
this is the time for Joey
This
to
is a good
make his
time.
best piece of work. The game
This
needs it. And I
actually is
think
a
he's the
great
perfect
time right
person.
now.
Yeah.
This is a great time because it's an open window right now.
Yeah.
It's up for taking.
I'm rooting for him, man. The game needed.
Yeah.
Mad Max in the super chat says uptime boys. And on that note, man, we're gonna get up out of here, man. I appreciate the conversation, man. It's
Sure.
I'm looking forward to seeing how things transpire further. But yeah, man, that's the climate out here.
Yeah, facts, man. I
Hit like and
appreciate
subscribe, everybody.
Why is everyone freaking out? They didn't even see it.